Now which way do we go is the question to ask. There are so many choices that it's hard not to look past. What is real and what is fake, and the risk we have to take. Will we know what is throwing off our balance? We're trying to find ourselves without the defining words. We can no longer hold on to what only makes us hurt. We cannot sink into the dark. The vertigo is getting sharp. There's something greater than ourselves that we must reach for.
Hello everyone and welcome back once again to PUBG Online. It is Tuesday and it is 2 p.m. Central Time. It is time for some EU gameplay, boys. The other 16 teams, well I should say 16 out of the 24 that were remaining, will be playing today a best of 4. A lot of exciting teams going on. I'm joined today, of course, by Cameron Davis and Porosaurus. Mr. Poro, how are you today?
Oh, great, man. This is I'm excited about this lobby today. There's so many good teams in this lobby, and I can't wait to see how they adjust to each other and how this one plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cameron, how are you, sir?
Yeah, no, I was going to second that because not only do we have Liquid, we got FaZe, we got Vitality. This is going to be an amazing series of games. It's always exciting to watch these three teams even individually, but then when they all three come together in a lobby of pure EU greatness, it's
pure EU greatness. That is exactly right.
They're the three best teams in EU. Sorry.
It's true.
Well, all right, let's be honest here.
And they're for the world.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was about to say that right now I think it's, pretty unanimous that everyone feels that FaZe is the top team in the world.
Yes.
They just outperform everyone constantly. They're a very consistent team. Vitality, that rivalry has been alive for a few months, and it's been a very exciting one to watch. It's been great. Vitality coming off, they won IM Oakland way back when, and ever since then they've been a top team. And then the emergence of Liquid in 2018, just right out of the gate, just on fire. And since 2018 has begun, they have been right there neck and neck with those two squads. So this 3-team rivalry going on in EU, all 3 of those teams in this lobby today. So it will be very exciting. Now, of course, we don't have too much time, 50 seconds until we get this one. So who makes a big showing that is not one of those 3 teams? Porosaurus. Yep, the hard-hitting questions. Poro.
Oh, man, you're jumping right to me, huh? Okay.
Yep.
I've been really impressed with M19 lately. I want to see what they can do.
Okay, absolutely. And Cameron, your thoughts, sir?
That's a good one. I'm gonna have to go with Alliance. They've struggled. Like, they were really good, but then when they got signed by Alliance, they started to struggle a little bit. But then, like, recently, they started to kind of pick it up. Partly with the acquisition of Meter, I think has been a big help onto them, and so I think they've been looking a lot stronger past couple of weeks, and so I think today they're going to perform really well.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, let's hop right into game number 1 right now with Daniel Sandel and Lil Fuzzy Seal.
Well, we certainly weren't looking at America's. I don't know about you, Seal, but definitely nowhere near as handsome as those 3 gentlemen on the desk. Hard-hitting questions coming out at the very beginning of this. 15 teams in the current lobby and 15 teams all vying for a big set of games tonight here on Tuesday here at PUBG Online. As mentioned, my name is Daniel Sandel, and joining me for this is Lil Fuzzy Seal. Now, Seal, same question to yourself, my man. Who are you expecting to pull a big showing out of this Game 1 here on Tuesday?
I've always liked back from Zarky. That team is the groups with Dai, Zenta, Fawn, and Dave the Crazy. Specifically, Dave the Crazy, I saw him play a really, really interesting play from a solo tournament that I saw recently. He pretty much made it in a tournament with other pro players, his own little montage of sorts. The guy has insane mechanical skill as well as good game sense. Also, Dai has a profile picture of a seal on the PUBG Online website, so I'm kind of obligated to like that team. No favoritism going on here, though, I promise.
No, for sure. I mean, you've got to go for those ones that you're looking for. We do have a fairly shallow plane to start this game off, but that's going to be favoring some of the teams we have in our lobby today.
Ooh.
Of course, FaZe taking over by Milt, but Liquid starting this game off with a split. And we already are going to be getting the nice run-down, gun-downers. Jeems, the first player to fall in the game entirely. The P92 going to be taking its toll here from Team 15, Team Noxious.
Yeah, we're calling this a split, but it's pretty curious to see players be dropping in this particular area. There are a couple of vehicles, but it looks like Noxious, that squad 15 that we just saw get that kill, was able to prevent Liquid from both getting a vehicle, but also preventing one of their players from getting out safely. That being said, looking around, we're seeing a lot of members from Noxious not having that much space for themselves. We have 3 players in one compound that can definitely not loot up 3 players. Christy to the northeast has on a boat and beach it further north of Lepavka, but with Liquid getting that combat to the north, as well as Squad 4 Team Wilma getting Lepavka, it's a rough start for everyone involved there.
Meanwhile, over in Pachinki, a Team 7 and Team 8, the House of Nobles and Spet Gaming, respectively, are going to be lining up once again against one another here in Pachinki. We're seeing a few weapons across the board, M4s, M16s, going up against Scars, and the odd pistol here and there. But taking a look at this House of Nobles, currently sitting at 11. Very solid 4-man squad after 12 games played, averaging out at about 3.5 kills per game. But if they're able to wipe it here in Pachinki, they're already going to be starting to get that, and then some more on top of that. Spec Gaming, of course. Carry on.
I've always liked the position that Squad 7 is in more. This is a pretty common split we see in Pachinki if it is contested. We usually oftentimes see the players starting the action on the southwest side, but if no action occurs, then the squad on the northwest side, that is where House of Nobles currently is, definitely gets more loot. They have more buildings to grab. But if someone wants to start some action, it's definitely going to be the guys on the south side. It looks like right here, that is on it's PJ, or rather the fellows south of PJ, and I think it was Botsman on the south side. Meanwhile, though, Evil, PJ, and Fearx definitely just looting up, and it looks like the way they're pulling back and not keeping the middle, they're not looking for a fight right now.
Perhaps also taking a moment to look at that brutal circle to start us off today. It's been the elephant in the room every time we've looked at the map, but I guess we really do have to address it. That is pretty... actually, pretty is a bad word for this one. It's not exactly what we were looking for, as Sosnovka Island is pretty much going to be in its entirety, Novorepnoye and the military base.
I mean, I've certainly seen worse circles than this, favoring the western coast. We've also seen some of these meme circles lately where the rocks on the outside of the map are just the center and there's nothing to work with. And with this circle in particular, most teams can be pretty dang certain that Sosnovka Island is probably going to be the endpoint. So we're probably be seeing some teams soon heading over the bridge, crossing water in some way. Meanwhile, though, with Alliance here already on Sosnovka, they're feeling very good about their spot here, having 4 players already on this island and the entire city of Novo to themselves.
And we can see it on our screens at the second, 14th place after only 8 games played. So they're
great.
They're a day behind some of the teams who are already in our tournament, but they're doing very well for themselves. Pretty consistent showing all the way through. And Alliance's Sigsy is going to be picking up an AUG as an extra piece of loot injection going forward. Also, the level 3 backpack and a syringe inside there. Not a bad day overall, as these guys are going to get a head start on position and loot to go forward.
Literally an injection.
Exactly. And they're also joined by Vega Squadron on the military island. Why don't you talk about these guys for a little while?
Well, yeah, Vega Squadron with their current spot, looks like they have looted the military base. They're currently heading toward the crossroads right now. This is going to be a pretty good spot tactically to preventing players from coming on in, but it looks like Alliance already scouting in this direction. They're driving a car which Maxor can definitely hear, but looks like not looking for a fight. I think that was Fever driving away right now. We might be seeing Vega Squad. No, they're actually will be falling back toward their friends in the military base, so they're not looking to try to prevent anyone coming over here. They're playing safe, getting themselves looted up, and that makes a lot of sense because we see on the northwest side of your screen right now, Vampire Game, who is also on this squad, is not on Sosnovka. He's going to need to link up with this squad at some point. Hopefully he's got a car.
Very greedy start for the team, but they've not been punished as a result of this so far. That's going to be one bridge. Also, having the ability to camp down, Vampire being so split away from his team, having such a huge amount of information going forward. Plus, a pretty excellent amount of loot to take back to his team. So taking a look at this with such a greedy play that's not come back to bite them in the backside, they're going to be going forward pretty well stacked for the rest of this game.
It's all depends on if you can actually get across. We're getting the point in time where teams will start making their way across. We have about 30 seconds left before the shrink. Already seeing players making their way in some way across. The boats have started early. Fake and Rafi on the far east side coming in from Lipovka, and on the west side, Arkway and the rest of their squad coming from the west. Havu as well making their way in. Most of the teams, if they have the ability, definitely decide that boats are the way in. But with all these players to the north and with how little room there is, especially on the northwest side, these squads we see on the west with Elite Player, those guys, Botsman, and the guys that dropped in Southern Georgia, Squad 6, they're all going to be a little bit more pressured to go in sooner because there's no location on the west side that can really camp in on this side of the island.
Exactly. Other rotations going through. We have the land, we have no air, but we do have water going through with this as well. And Dave the Crazy and the rest of Back from Zaki, team you highlighted, are going to be going in. We do see in the kill feed, real quick, it looks like Dax and Zenta have just dropped out of the game from
the teammates of the players we just saw drive in. It looks like a motorbike accident. We just saw the buggy drive in the water as well, so they can't get back to their partners. This is a horrible start for Back from Zaki here.
Of course, going to be accidental, but taking a look at this, it's such a harsh start to happen. Of course, with those motorcycles, they can be deadly if you just hit one tiny rock or anything along those lines, and that could be what we're seeing here. It's going to be a slow bleed out.
It was a sidecar.
It was a sidecar.
Oh my god. There are those weapon charts that show all of the different amounts of kills certain items get in the game. Sidecar has got to be up there rivaling the M416. That's what I'm saying.
The rest of Back from Zaki are starting to move in, so we could be seeing some pickups coming through, but one person being taken down in opposition is going to be Elite Player from Team 5, M19, taken down by Spet Gaming here. We don't see any other members of M19 in his current vicinity. It looks like just climbing down those
not
cliffs
anymore.
to find any extra loot.
We see the example in the Wonder driving back north, but they will be coming across the House of Noble soon, coming in from Pachinki. You know what? Alliance grabbing that radio tower. Looks like they're trying to see if they can take shots to their northwest. This is a very, very powerful spot. Look at that new beautiful 2x showing so much extra field of view. By the way, there was an update that came out showing a lot of interesting things, but most importantly, at least in my opinion, for custom games, big performance increase. These players should be able to pull out some even better stuff for us.
Oh, for sure. I was playing a little bit earlier, and I've got a 970 in my own PC at the second. Not exactly the best, but still not on the low range of this. Stable, very, very solid 70 FPS all the way through. Excellent performance updates coming through, so these teams will be feeling the extra from that. 60 is going to be feeling the power of the AUG as he's taking those long-range shots with the updated 2x. And have you had a chance to play on the new patch just yet?
No, I just got back home. I've had a lot of schoolwork lately, sadly. So instead of playing the game, I get to watch people much better than me play the game, which honestly, not a bad way to spend my afternoon.
For definite, and that's what we're here for, to watch some of the best teams in the world play for this. Dave the Crazy and the rest of Back from Zaki.
The remainder.
They've actually managed to sustain their casualties quite well, considering still 3 members left alive there. Spet Gaming.
Yeah, the remaining guys that were left, looks like they went back for the loot from the motorbike accident and were able to grab the car as well as get it back across the island. So good for them to, despite losing 2 of their players in an initial motorbike accident, to be able to get to relative safety. That being said, they are now crossing the water around the same place as quite a few other teams and times for their teams. So Squad 5 has M19 to the right and Spet Gaming to their left. It's going to be very, very rough for them when they do decide to beach here, only having 2 members up.
Exactly. Map position between West and East Bridge, just by Millie Beach, is going to be absolutely populated at this moment in time. Multiple teams choosing to make their crossover from this direction as they go to that southern island, of course. Millie Beach will be very difficult to get onto, and we could be seeing a few dolphins for this game. Vitality, of course, getting themselves a nice compound there.
Yeah, that's a really good bridge, sort of blue water boy camping compound, just making sure that anyone coming from the water is going to have at least a little bit of trouble coming in this way. With 3 squads in that direction as well, they should have the work cut out for them. Meanwhile, Liquid, with sustaining their early losses, are saying, all right, no early fights for us. We're sometimes an aggro team, not this game. They're going to be simply blue tanking the first circle, grabbing as much meds equipment as they can.
We'll have to see whether that works in their favor. Of course, taking that extra chip damage before going into the next circle, where teams could have already established themselves a nice position, is going to be difficult. Either way we look at this. Pro 100, Team 13 currently on our screens here. They're going to be getting themselves a nice free piece of real estate. Taking a look at their stats as well, they're not doing too bad, even though they're sitting at 34th. 2.2 kills per game over 4, though. What can we see extra from these guys if they're going to perform even better?
More placements, better placement and more kills, man. But it looks like with the current zone that they have, you know, compounds on Sosnovka, pretty hard to come by. And they have one. It's in the second zone as well. They will be having a home for at least the early game. And with this zone that we have here, there's not that many locations that people can be. That being said, FaZe somehow crossing from the Mill to Power over to the center of the new zone, and one of the best spots they could possibly find themselves. I don't know how they do it, but it feels like whenever we get these Eastside military circles, FaZe is always in a wonderful spot to play them.
Exactly, south of Radio Hillside, and this team has been called out on many occasions for just how well they play this map. We're seeing on our screens currently 4.3 kills per game here over a total of 8 games played. But looking at their recent performances at LAN, it's very difficult to actually dispute just how good these guys are. Such a consistent team through and through, and they have been since the early days, since even before they were known as Gorilla Core.
Yeah, they've always been a team that always just plays their own game. They're almost always the makers and the breakers of whatever meta we come across here. Oh, Oh, looks like that bug having a little bit of trouble. But meanwhile, on the map, a couple of skirmishes breaking out. The Lions here holding the wonderful high ground, getting a lot of shots to players coming in from the outskirts of Novo. Team Wilma taking a lot of damage here.
Radio Tower raining down on Crossroads and Novo at this moment in time. Radio Hillside not going to be taken by anyone just at the second, but Alliance, they have everything to themselves. What do your elf eyes see, VZ? He sees one person just trying to drag himself behind that hill. Sees the smoke coming up from Fake as well, so he knows the rough idea of where these players even are located.
Ooh.
At 4 times, doing a lot of damage with the M4 here. Very accurate shots just landing around, making him dance, and we're not going to see him down just yet. And then he dies just behind the back of that hill.
Hyundai definitely thought that little ridge that he ran to was cover, but once the shots kept coming, he realized he could not keep running. Raffi, though, trying to see if he can make at least one revive come off, trying to bob and weave, avoiding a lot of gunfire, getting to the next, almost getting the next piece of cover, running to the right instead, and that little bit of running to the ridge instead of the rock cost him his life. Alliance with our first squad wipe here. That's why this spot's so good.
Team Wilma being taken completely by surprise, not realizing just how strong a position that radio tower can be. Of course, to the left or to the west of Alliance currently is going to be Vitality, another team we have to keep our eyes on, and they're going to be hearing those gunshots. They're going to be on the receiving end of a few as well. There's Shiv just trying to run away here.
Yeah, he's already at very low HP. There are some cars passing by to the right as well, but with this nice ridge they found, actually, it's like a little bit of Play-Doh. He sort of just wiggled himself inside of. Looks like they will be finishing off the remainders of Back from Zarki, so they will not be proceeding further with this game. This map always has situations like that occurring, where you just gotta, if you're down a couple of guys in this eastern side, you gotta find some place to camp, which means risking getting to the center early, and, well, Vitality showed us they can't walk past them for free.
And as a team who did sustain some early casualties as well, not a great start for them, but at least they're not going to be going out in 15th place for this game. Securing 14th and now 13 teams left inside this game, as the Millie base is still going to be our host and our party playground for the rest of this, but still just going off to the southeast as well. FaZe with a very nice position alongside Vega Squadron in this southern compound. Harvu, another team we haven't really picked up on just yet, on the outside of the main wall of Millie here.
Yeah, Havu's got a big job ahead of them, and they're already getting some work done. Novosig is coming from the west side, looking like they're already getting some shots put out. Havu in a spot that is definitely all about kind of like Alliance over here, just gatekeeping and make sure no one gets in. Looks like Alliance, though, has found some new targets way over to the northwest. That is not quite cover enough for these guys, dude.
There's not enough cover from anyone when you have such an incredible high ground position, and VZ still just railing these shots from such a huge distance. VZ able to take Crispia down onto the ground, and that's going to be one extra advantage in their favor at this moment in time. This radio tower position just proving time and time again to just give them coverage of every area around them, and, well, here it is. Strong position.
And they have not been quiet. Everyone knows they're here. The new zone as well, providing them still a location that they can play off of, as well the new zone providing a very, very easy transition location. So they will be in a very good spot for the rest of this game. However, they're doing a similar job trying to take out a buggy. It looks like it's missing a wheel at the front of it, and with the driver at half HP, have showing us their marksmanship skills here. Another wheel getting blown off.
Very difficult to hit the shots on a buggy from that range, but still able to get some excellent tags inside there. We've seen some of these players time and time again over the course of PUBG Online, before even they were called Harvu. So taking a look, they don't have too far to move into the next circles. That's going to be one bonus in their favor. They could be pulling up against Team 12 and Team 13, who are just on the south side here, looking to go into the same entrance to this circle.
Oh yeah, looks like over here Vegas Squadron rolling up onto an area that is somewhat contested by FaZe to the east. It looks like Maxazor and Kemba have cleared the way with their dossiers, finding themselves some cover that isn't quite in the open. But ooh yeah, Kemba a little bit too far, getting knocked out by the Mini 14 of Mixie. Reinforcements are coming in, but I'm not sure if that player's gonna be able to get revived.
This Mini 14 is sponsored by FaZe, as Mixie able to get another incredible shot there, just taking extras. Every single one is hitting its target at the second, but the Mini 14 not doing just enough damage. 54th able to get out of the car, but tagged incredibly low, and he's taken down onto the ground. Mixie with that silenced Mini 14 doing some incredible work. We have to wonder whether... Okay, yep, they can recover. I was just about to ask whether Vega could recover, and well, they can. Fuzzface looking to play the medic here.
We're seeing a lot of almost, I almost want to say, suicidal revives this game. A lot of players just trying to do whatever they can to get into the late game with before. But with Gemty and Hexetti onto the north side, trying to contest these downed players, going in for a flank. But with their teammates back in the rear, they are currently accepting a 2v2. And there's a lot of ridges that the remnants of Vega Squadron could hide behind, though. With the frag coming down here, just finishing off these downs, just saying, Vega Squadron, I am not going to wait for you to get these revives. You are down to 2, and I'm going to show you exactly how the frag's coming in with the Vega Squadron definitely down 2. Maybe pretty much hiding for the rest of this game, dude.
And another demonstration of FaZe's map awareness inside this game. The call out was made, the nade was thrown. These players as separate duos, separated by hundreds of meters, and still able to make incredible call outs like this. Getting those extra kills onto the downed members. Now 12 and 13 is the Shapeshift versus Pro 100 coming up head to head already. Team 13 Pro 100 sustaining 2 casualties as Arizona looking to push up the side of this hill, not knowing when he's going to run into Krabic. Still one player behind him as well. That's going to be the peak end to the gunfire as Ascensial is able to finish that one off. Beautiful work, but still teams both bleeding.
Grishka left to just go for the placement strats from Pro 100 down to simply one player. That being said, look at that little minimap. We do see Shapeshift Gaming receiving some fire from the east. They're going to have to take cover. They are on the coastline, and look at that map. With Havu close to the northwest, they might be able to eliminate both these squads despite winning an initial skirmish.
Alliance still with this radio tower position. Whether the action is going to take them away from there, we'll have to see. Team 8 versus Team 10. This is Liquid coming up against Spet Gaming. Team Liquid currently #1 in the standings, and Ibiza, he's going to be on the receiving end of a little fire at this moment. But he does still have some cover. He has the geography on his side here.
Liquid has been going for quite a bit of late and blue tanking strats. It looks as though Scoom is going to be joining Ibiza soon, but they've gotten split up a little bit. But Spet Gaming can't quite go as aggressive as they want. We do see on the mini, but they're quite spread out over here. But Evil spotting out Scoom, making the crossing, immediately getting those shots, and gunning him down. SG clearing out the northeastern side, sitting Ibiza packing. But on the southwest side of this flank, we see Felix taking a 1v2 versus Botsman and the rest of the guys in House Nobles.
One player of Team Liquid now remaining, so our first place team definitely up against a difficult scenario. Spet Gaming still pretty well placed here, just on the outside, but surrounded by 2 separate teams. Team 7 being their closest at this moment in time, the House of Nobles. Botsman not spotted here, but Flix is going to do exactly what his name suggests. Able to get that flick up onto the top of the hill and take some damage out of Evil's health bar.
This is really bad for both of these squads. They have 10 seconds left before the zone starts to shrink, and with the high ground being held by both M19 and Alliance on the tip top of the high ground, both of these guys will need to at least eliminate one or the other, or try to go against 2 squads out the high ground. Looking over here, though, it looks like House of Nobles Flix has no intent on moving. They're pretty much keen on taking SG with them.
SG, however, not wanting any part of this scenario at all. They're just going to move around the north side of this circle, but they will run into our final remaining player of Team Liquid. Also very close, as we can see on the minimap, Team 14 Alliance, as they're still on this strong position. They're going to be railing shots over to the northeast currently, and who's on the receiving end of this? Because it doesn't look like it's going too well for them. Mr. TV being downed out almost immediately as the rest of Noxious reeling from this. Only one player still standing, and his position heavily compromised. Kavorka, can he make the impossible happen here?
Well, it looks like he's not quite about to break, because we do see a down coming out onto Medor. That could be the opening that is required. That being said, more teammates over here on the northern side, looking like they're trying to sneak by. Kavorka at about 2/3 HP, trying to sneak into the zone, but with the blue overtaking him, we can see the map. He will start chunking with these circle changes that we've been going. They're a little bit slower, but when they do start touching you, dude, that is when the damage really starts coming.
Certainly looking like this circle is going to be sponsored by Alliance for this game, as Kavorka having to run around as much as he can. Does get the med off, but he has to run into the circle from the outside, tanking the blue all the way through this. Luckily for him, he will have a safe entrance from the northeast side should he not be spotted out by the remaining players of Alliance. FaZe making their move up through the south. Vitality currently centralized as well. 10 teams remaining, and in such a small circle, we have to wonder just when this is all going to hit the fan.
Yeah, I always have liked the east side of military base when the teams can actually get there. There's a lot of tree cover. There's a couple of ridges, especially near that radio station. But it looks like with Vitality claiming the center, this small couple of hills, they will sort of have a bit of a mini alliance hill. They will almost certainly get to stay here. There's a lot of trees and ridges that they can use. They will almost certainly be able to take a good fight. And look at that, with the new zone, they are still in it. And with FaZe not in, it'll probably be FaZe versus Vitality coming out soon if they rotate into them. Vitality in a great spot here.
Vitality are taking the initiative to centralize themselves in the previous circle and able to get a solid position for the following one. Now taking some shots down onto FaZe, but FaZe not eager or content to leave that without a fight. Araxe taking quite a large chunk out of his health bar. As FaZe realize the position, they're going to play the map once again. They'll rotate around, try and enter this next circle from the south.
There are a couple of cars that they've stashed here, and it is quite a long ridgeline they can use to get into the southern side. Looks like they will just be keeping this spot, and this is a good time to be cautious because to their south is Vega Squadron. They're currently taking fire from their west. I believe that's Habu Gaming, a full squad of 4 that has them suppressed here. And with being on the southern tip of the zone, they're going to need to find a down or find some sort of luck or just bravery to make this open crossing. But I don't know if they got crossing 4v2 with FaZe their north as well. It's a really rough future for them.
Havu making a bit of noise, but they still quite handily have this southwest entrance to the circle covered off for themselves. As FaZe will take the dead south. Now Havu, actually Bikini Model moving over towards FaZe. Not sure if he knows what he's run into as the gunfight does start off. Jempty is going to take a kill down onto Vega Squadron's Vampire Game here. Grenade does go out and land very short. Fuzzface and his squad mate compadre going to be very close to one another as the extra duo from FaZe push to the south and are able to eliminate Vega Squadron out of the game. But it's now versus Havu Gaming. Where will this go?
Really strong from FaZe to keep the 2 players up to remove Vega. Looks like Bikini Model not too keen on taking this fight, though. He's playing very passive. He is in the white zone, so it's not like he has to take this fight immediately. He will. It looks like both these teams not too keen on taking anything, but Habu do have a pretty good spot. They can't play this high ground, but with this high ground comes a little bit of fire. I think that's Vitality Shadow takes also Ed Silencio here.
Currently at this moment in time, Alliance also fighting face-to-face, head-to-head with Alliance, who had that incredibly strong position to start this game off. And Silencio from Havu is going to be taken down here. That with him just dropping the as he was mid-throw from the looks of it. Fuzzface is going to get the down onto Jorski as well. FaZe mounting their numbers, taking every advantage as it comes. And this is going to be a power play as they start to make their push forwards now. They're pushing straight into Havu. A couple of shots coming down. That's going to reveal the location as it wasn't too deadly at this moment in time. Mixi has the support of his team, he has the faith, and they all trust one another well enough to realize what they're going into. Smoke does come down as FaZe still mounting this push. Haxete, he'll move down onto the road alongside Jempty, who's going to peek first.
That's a big 3-man peek, but he does get one down. Habu not even turning around here, but they are peeking against Vitality as well to the northeast. Habu, they're currently in full retreat, but there is still one player on this side of the road. That's Jorski. It's very close. Jempty taking a lot of fire. It looks like FaZe realizing they can't actually take this peek against Habu. They're exposing themselves too much to the rest of the zone.
Playing the geographical cover in this part of the map incredibly well as they peek over these hills, looking into where they can shoot, trying to get every member they can. That's Hasete tanking the blue, but able to get to the down almost immediately. 33 seconds as he finds himself back inside the smoke with enough time to med here. Havu sustaining quite heavy casualties as the FaZe line-out is just proving so strong here. Jempty with the 4 times now trying to fire down onto the Vitality squad, who have that incredibly strong hill position. But 7 teams remaining. This is getting lit very quick.
And meanwhile, though, on the western side, it looks like we see Blademeyer pitch between 2 squads. He has himself a little ridge, taking a bikini model, getting the down as well, but that might be his last thing he does in his life. We'll be running over here, but Habu not even reacting to this. We do the Insolencio still there. Oh yeah, Habu and Silencio finally realizing Blademeyer is right. They're clearing at the southwest side, but FaZe is running across to their south. I don't really mind holding the entire flank on his own. They have spotted him. They know exactly where he is. And with I don't really mind not having a helmet, he definitely minds a little bit about that small fact.
Playing spoiler is Flix, however, as Fuzzface is the first to be dropped here. Hexete also taken incredibly low as the gunfire coming down from the southwest side. Jempty next to be taken down, as I don't really mind getting himself in a strong position and able to take that peak. Hexete taken dangerously low as Mixie, with some tree coverage, he'll have to wait for Jempty to pop over to him before he can pop the meds on that squad mate.
It's a miracle that FaZe is even alive here, but the same can be said for Havu, as it looks like they are currently getting pressure from the north side, pressuring them into FaZe. Hexeti over this ridge, but looking away at just the wrong time, and Silencio getting that down. And with FaZe, I think they might only have, there's 2 still on the high ground. Havu do have to push into them, but it's an even 2v2.
Havu playing so aggressively here. They've maintained their casualties, they've sustained themselves, and they're coming back fighting. They do not want to be taken out of this game too early. Jempty with that DP now. He's going to be looking for some trading kills, but he can't trade too heavily anymore, being the only player remaining for his squad. Havu in a very strong position now as the tables have still turned, and Silencio going to be finished off. I don't really mind the player to watch now.
He does get shot in the back, though, by a different group. Jempty realizing that that was indeed the squad he was looking at. The blue zone does encompass their prior position as well. FaZe still in the game, but left as a solo. Vitality still holding the high ground in the new zone, favoring their old position. They might have, actually, I would say they definitely have a game-winning spot here.
Vitality having a game-winning lineup still. 4 players left alive. Team 7, once again, going to be the House of Nobles with 3 players currently standing. Team 5 inside the game, that's M19. 2 players remaining. Still 2 other squads. My maths is awful today. Apologies for that one, as we are going to take a look at the team lineup.
Yeah. Just look at this player list right here. We see Vitality with the only full 4-man squad, the only even closest squad, 7 with House of Noble. Everyone else is still duos and solos. There's very few strong groups here that can actually contest Vitality either tactically or with numbers. The only hope here is maybe these players flanking from the south, but even now getting whittled down, coming in from the southwest, House of Nobles limiting them. But now Vitality knows there's players coming from that direction. Araxi already looking at that with an arm. They even have gear on their side.
They have everything, and that's the headshot! Beautiful work as Botsman. He's going to be feeling dad in the morning. Going to need some more than painkillers to shake that one off. Araxe has a damage to it himself. No vest currently in the game. That's going to be difficult for him. Shiv does get a kill down onto Flix as well. Very good start from Vitality as they have everything on their side. The geography, the weapons, the scopes, and the momentum at this point in time.
Oh man, the thing is, everyone's realized it though, but just look at that kill feed. Vitality showing up in spades, getting downs all over the place. The only one up that is on the northwest side is Konstantvik. Oh, actually, he's down right now. It's just the Wanderer, actually, who's not going to be able to get his buddy up with the zone coming in, spotting that down player, seeing the corpse in the smoke as well. They're all down. The only one left, the last player, is Spet Gaming Fearix, who has at some point managed to sneak in, but Vitality spots him, finishing them off, and Vitality taking the win in a hugely tactically significant spot. Look how many kills that is.
It's an incredible amount of kills coming through from this game. Considering we only had 15 teams to start the day off, that's going to be 14 kills, wiping a significant portion of the teams inside this game. Beautiful work coming through from Vitality, who were able to maintain position all the way through and take a flawless victory in the end there. And honestly, I don't really know what they could have done better. It was such a dominant performance. They played with their momentum incredibly well, and they just pushed exactly when they needed to, understanding the map and playing it significantly better than everyone else here today.
Yeah, there was a really important time when Liquid pushed down, and Alliance winning that fight pretty much showed that, hey, Vitality, winning that fight pretty much showed that, hey, you have a game-winning spot. you're just going to be able to keep it now. But that was it for game one. We're going to be throwing it over to our desk, getting you guys some nice pregame analysis while we get our second game set up. Don't go anywhere. More PUBG action coming to you soon.
Game number one in the books, and it is Vitality with a 14-kill win. A job well done. I have to say, there's a few fights in that game that were definite treats for me, especially FaZe and Havu. It was a pleasure to watch. Nice, long, drawn out, lots of trades going in. Poor Source, what'd you think of that one?
I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about from that first game. I know Cammy and I were kind of going back and forth talking about a couple of different things during this, but you know, that from the jump, that circle favored FaZe and Vitality. Just based on their transitions, you could see that FaZe actually kind of surprised me by going where they did in their first transition, by going for a more safe approach rather than going for one of these you know, high traffic transition areas where they can pick up a lot of kills like they usually do. But still, I mean, FaZe is so good that they stay alive for later on, and they end up picking up kills coming off the back end. If it had not been for that circle kind of pushing them, making them come in from the south, pushing into Havu, and then also into House of Nobles and Vitality, who knows what it could have ended up. But Vitality with great positioning there.
Yeah, FaZe taking a ton of shots, as you see here. This is early against Vega Squadron when they were first. And Cameron, I wanted your opinion on this, actually, because you know, you're pretty methodical when it comes to your thought process on the movement of a lot of these players. The position of power that FaZe, Vitality, Havu, and Alliance took, it kind of looked like when we were looking at the map overhead, all four of these squads were holding very strong locations in circle, and it was like no matter which direction you came in, you were hitting one of those four walls.
Yeah, basically, and that has to do with the locations. As Poro said, this circle did favor those teams, Vega and Alliance, for being on Sosnovka Island to begin with, but then also Vitality and FaZe being right at Milta and Milta Power make an easy transition through. Vitality, obviously, they are at the bridge. They are the team that camps the bridge, and so I was actually thinking about this. I was writing down, it's like I expect Vitality to camp the north end of that bridge for at least a little bit to try and deal damage to anyone coming through. They didn't actually camp it for that long, if at all. I wasn't able to like track that because we weren't on the minimap the whole game, obviously. But nonetheless, no one went on the eastern bridge just because like we teams know the Vitality exactly, and so like they realized, oh, we don't actually have to use our resources anymore. We have scared these teams to swimming across. That's why I saw most teams swim across. But then FaZe, they always take those boats if it's a military circle and go in towards that area south of Novo, grab cars there, and if they have to and use those vehicles, if they have to rotate over towards the west edge, or if not in the circle like this, they don't have to move at all. And so these four teams were kind of just handed their initial circle, and of course that brings up the conversation of they have to then utilize it well. They're not just given the game at the start, but that kind of like box, as you established, of those four teams just putting power spots on them is really strong. It's kind of unfortunate that Vega were a little too ambitious, didn't expect FaZe to be there so early, and kind of opened up and allow Havu to take what was essentially the fourth corner away from them. But the thing about Sosnovka Island circles is that transitions are incredibly important. Timing is really important, and it's very punishing, more so than the circle on the main island itself, strictly because of transitions into it are always difficult.
Yeah. All right. So I want to get to a few fights here that we saw during that game. First one we saw was FaZe and Vega. All right. It was a nice 4v4. FaZe got 2 knocks. That push, I want your thoughts on sending 2 players to finish those knocks, because you're basically setting up a 2v2. Obviously, FaZe very confident in their gunfighting skills, and they know. Here you see the push, the grenades coming out onto the 2 down players. This is basically just, we want to guarantee these kills. You know, we have the knocks. We can't finish from where we are. I want both your opinions on your thoughts of sending them out there, if that's kind of a risky play, or is it 100% worth the reward of cleaning up your area, and just kind of how you guys feel about that. Poro.
I mean, when you're as confident in your shots right now and in your shot calling as FaZe is, that's an easy push to make. I mean, they knew that they had the two players that were at the front downed, and they had Mixie covering the two players in the back with the sniper from long range to make sure that they kept honest. So they knew that push was pretty safe for them to make. The only thing that they might not have known about was Havu coming in from longer range, or from the western edge. But at the time that they made the push, they were still safe. They didn't have anybody, and nobody else was shooting at them, at the team that they were shooting at. So it seemed like a pretty good push to make, and that kind of put them in position to set up for that next fight against Havu, who was also pushing in from like one of my favorite positions of power, which is those hills just to the south of military base.
Yeah, definitely a fan. Now, Cameron, on the same push, I mean, it seems a little risky setting up a 2v2, but obviously, the way FaZe went about it, it was still a 4v2 holding the two players in the back and basically how they, I guess, protected themselves.
Yeah,
they weren't greedy.
So, yeah, it wasn't gonna be a 2v2 setup in a more generic sense, because the two players from FaZe that were still in the compound still had sight lines on the players from Vega, able to keep them pinned down, and the risk of that push would have been a lot riskier if they were, say, in the center of the circle, but they were right next to the coast. They knew they didn't have to worry about, like, there was literally no pressure from the south or even the east for the most part, and they obviously had eyes on the north, and so they were able to. And it's so early game, the circle's large enough. Vega was the closest team, obviously, and so just because of that, they knew that they could send the resources out. It would be significantly less chance of them being punished if they were to do it now, and right now is the time that they needed to, because if they let Vega stay there, then they wouldn't have there would have been too much pressure for them later on into the late game. And so utilizing that resources, but also of course having the backup from the two players in the back down sides, keeping them pinned down while the two did the push over the hill, was a good use of a 2-2 split resource.
Absolutely. Now, one of the most important parts of this entire game, we actually had all four of those teams that we talked about being in positions of power, which was FaZe, Vitality, Havu, and Alliance. We saw FaZe and Havu. That's the fight that we got to watch. Long, drawn-out trades back and forth. Basically, both teams cannibalizing one another as they went through this fight, which was, I mean, that's fantastic to watch. I love that when you see two teams that are both making correct decisions over and over, and it's almost like the fight just never ends. What we missed, unfortunately, at the exact same time, we had Alliance and Vitality going at one another up on the mountain, and that ended up being the deciding factor in this game. Vitality made it out of that four-man strong, and I think that there is a huge props to them for going into a fight against such a strong team in Alliance, not losing a single member and cleaning out the north and gaining such a good location, immediately owning the high ground after they got out of that fight.
Yeah. Well, the one downside to the radio tower is it's very strong. You saw Alliance kind of raining terror on everyone in the north, especially, but like northeast, northwest as well. You see BZ right here taking some nice long-range shots. And obviously, these shots aren't the easiest to hit, but with enough ammo stacked up, Alliance, they looted out the entirety of Novo, so they had a good arsenal at their back. The one downside to this area is that rotations out of it can be a little rough. They did have the easier side to then rotate down. If they had to go north or west, they would have been screwed.
That's the worst, absolutely.
Yeah, those are the absolute worst. That's when the terrain is there, like kind of stabbing you in the back. But nonetheless, they still have to rotate out of it, and it's still a choke point, even if the actual terrain slope allows you to walk down it. And so that's the big problem, is that they may have stayed on the top of the island, mountain for just a little bit too long. Didn't allow themselves to kind of open up ways into the circle, and Vitality were there waiting with open arms. They knew that there was a team at the top. I'm surprised actually Vitality got so many kills in this game, though, because you could imagine that any other team would have just been waiting. It's like, oh, well, we have Alliance right above us defending us, so we can just kind of sit pretty. But they were doing their own work as well, keeping the West Coast locked down.
Absolutely, and that's an important thing to do. And I love teams that play that way, where it's like, all right, we may have the extra cover from someone near us, we may have some help, but let's make sure that we don't have to worry about a soul except for those above us later when the circle finally forces that fight. And Vitality able to get the 4v4 against Alliance and win it 4-man strong. So huge props to them. Huge win. 14 kills coming out of game number 1. And when we talked about the teams that we thought were strongest in this lobby before we even started the games today, it was FaZe, it was Vitality, and it was Liquid. Now, Liquid had a rough first game. Tough rotations getting across. A really long trip for them from where they were coming. And, of course, they spent a lot of time in blue. So military zone on the eastern side, not the best friend to Team Liquid, obviously. But what's very important there is, out of those 3 teams, Vitality was the one lowest on the leaderboards. So them grabbing a win here is huge, very important for them to bounce back and get back into the top 10 and kind of earn their spot. So I love that. I absolutely love it. We talked about Radio Tower a little bit. Havu and FaZe. I mean, the fight was just, it's perfect. I love that. I love having those trade back and forth fights. It was a lot of fun. So
it was kind of unfortunate for FaZe that Havu made their own correct decisions because FaZe needed to wipe Havu at that time in order to actually have control of the south side. Because Havu stayed alive, it's like, no, Havu, come back, make the bad decision, stick and fight us. Now, FaZe wasn't able to take control, and that's where they only got 5th. I say only 5th. It's still 5th. It's still FaZe. They're going to get top 5 no matter what.
They're going to get top 5 no matter what. And it is. I mean, they were in a fight for 15 minutes, and they still, managed to get a player up into the top 5. And FaZe did a lot of damage to a lot of teams. They're taking a lot of shots, and they were owning the southern half. And I wish I had a little more time to talk about the southern half compared to the northern half of military. But we do not, because we are only 20 seconds away from game number 2. It was Vitality in game number 1, a 14-kill victory. Huge for them. Second place was actually Spet Gaming, and third place M19, who we mentioned a little bit before we got started, Mr. Porosaurus. But it is now time, so let's hop right back into game number 2 with the wonderful Lil Fuzzy Seal and Daniel Sandel.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our Tuesday broadcast of EU's Season 1 Split 1 of PUBG Online here this evening. We've got another 60 players, 15 teams going at it for Game 2 here, and this is going to be incredible once again as we have a nice central plane line to start us off here. How are we feeling about this one, Seal?
Ooh, I love these playing lines. You used to hear me saying things like, I love the meme. I love it when players can't do things in the early game and just die like for no reason. But the more pro PUBG you watch, the more like the more you like to get them to see. Wow, the more I like to see them just do what they want and have it work. So teams that can do maybe like going to Yas, maybe like going to Milta Power, maybe like going to Georgia Pool. They can do that. They can get to the mid game with the strat they want and actually see if their plan works out well.
Exactly, and having more opportunity to work with everything and make it work for them with all of those options being thrown in their directions. Havu Gaming going to be going down to Primorsk, and as we just quickly scroll up through our map at the second, a fairly nice split going down the middle. Liquid sticking to a solid plan from last game round, which didn't quite work in the way they expected it to. FaZe not able to get down to Milta just yet, so they could be looking for a vehicle, but they may be finding very early players.
Yeah, this is looking pretty spicy. It looks like Noxious, that dropped once again with Liquid, is not going to be able to get an early kill this time. Able to get an early kill. It looks like FaZe and Mista able to find their own vehicles, getting away to the southeast. Looks like FaZe heading towards Milta Power, as is their usual stopping grounds, but Scream left behind while there's this team on Liquid Ghosty as Nia. But over here in Georgia Pool, this is looking spicy.
Spicy is one word. This is getting mad, as early on we've got Spets Gaming once again going up against Team 6 here. Novus Ignis is going to be a different one this time around. We didn't see anything out of Novus last game, so we could be seeing something early on.
And if you look at that mini-map, there's actually 3 squads here. A third one to the east, that's M19, the Wonder and Constant Advocate, with the solo Skirklaw. And with the Skirklaw, there's a player to his south and to his west. It's going to be really hard for him to continue proceeding into Georgia Pool, being surrounded the way he is. He might have to get out of here. There's another player to the east as well. He doesn't really have a way to get out. He's just hiding. He knows it.
He definitely didn't think he was going to be having so much company down here for sure, and trying to get some extra loot out by spreading themselves thin across Georgia Pool and getting as much as they possibly can. Not working out in their favor this time around. As mentioned though, M19, a very tight-knit unit at this point in time, as 3 players quite close to one another. that is going to ensure that Novus Ignis, the duo, up against Spet Gaming's full squad in this central stack.
Something important to know about northern Georgia, though, is that it is very, very congested. There's a lot of buildings, which means that these players might not even see each other. They might just happen to loot away from each other, then happily leave later on. That being said, look at this new zone. It's a Stalver circle, and that means that a lot of these groups that jumped very far to the southwest, south, and west away from the circle are going to have a long journey to get in. The only ones that are really feeling this zone right now is House of Nobles and Liquid.
Used to meme so hard on Stalber, but I love the place now. I just love that hill warfare. And we've seen a couple of games, actually, especially in Pro PUBG, where we've had multiple teams just using that hill, skirting around some incredibly exciting fights happening around that area over.
It's almost like a mini Miramar.
Exactly, except, you know, better.
Not a fan of Miramar. Okay. We'll agree and disagree on that one.
I feel like it could definitely be worse. I mean, I feel like there's also that part that I'm just generally very bad on Miramar.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those things that is it's taken me a long time to adapt to. There are definitely things I'd like to be changed about it for sure.
I can definitely feel that. I personally just love the end game in these pro games. But looking over here, we do have a Havu in Primorsk. A lot of loot to be getting between these four players, especially with our increased AR spawn rates. These guys should be more than kitted to get here once they loot it, but they do have a long way to go.
Plenty of movement to be had, as mentioned, but they're also going to be moving alongside Team 13, Pro 100, another team we didn't get to see too much of last game around. They're going to be looting the wider section of the quarry area, giving them a nice extra amount of income, especially with these small compounds. These are one of my favorite haunting grounds in solo games, actually, because one of the larger areas, and with these compounds being so small, they're well fortified, but they don't really translate too well from solos and duos as they would over to squads.
They do kind of allow these solo-style players, though, to find some loot if they want some. Like we're seeing Grishka Power do this exactly. You know, him and his squad deciding that they're going to be looting the sort of the quarry spread, finding themselves hopefully some early cars and driving around looting this. It looks like though that Grishka Power will not be getting himself an early car, which having to go to Stalber might be a bit of a problem. Hopefully one of his teammates can help pick him up. I see Arkway in the distance having his own vehicle, so at the very least, they're not just screwed here at the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. And around this area, we do generally have some nicer areas which teams could extra go up to loot. So Primorsk over towards Ferry Pier, heading towards the West Bridge.
Ooh.
But they're going to be missing out on most of this as our early rotations come through and our early fights are kicking off in Northern Georgia Pole. North George, of course, was the home of 3 teams at the start of this game, and it looks like 2 of those squads have finally discovered each other.
Well, it's possible. It does look like Novus Ignis has at some point spotted M19 is saying, okay, you're going to be on that side, we'll be on this side, and just don't come over here and it'll be fine. and that's very, very good for Novus Ignis. If you remember, they had that initial one player that just didn't have anything. He just had to hide in a building, which means that they're definitely short on loot. Also, as well, with M19 having the dude that just happened to find themselves like conveniently placed this what do you even call this, like a wave runner or a water scooter?
Jet ski.
Jet ski as well. It doesn't go quite fast enough for a jet ski. It goes slower than a normal boat. If you're gonna call yourself a jet ski, you gotta go like at least faster than a big fucking military boat.
I can agree with that. But also, South George is also going to be contested. We do see a couple of teams around this area. Alliance picking up the crates container area, whereas it does look like Shapeshift Gaming Team 12 have taken the South George and Hospital area to themselves.
As long as VZ gets out okay, as long as he has at some point planned for or knows the car spawns around here, he should be fine to get out of here. He also has the crates to fall back in, so if they decide to push him, he can definitely make him pay for it. A lot of camping places he can fight for here. But something that I was interested in is we saw back from Zarki, if we go to the map, in the Stalber area already, something up very, very soon. That Squad 3 we see die. They had a very rough game 1. I think they got 14th. The last game after saying this is a pretty interesting squad that we should look at, but they're already claiming an area earlier on for themselves, which this is not a play that we see that often in Stalber. Usually we see teams relatively willing to get to the edge late and then just sort of play a sort of more aggressive game, accepting squad fights as they come, but not fighting for that great position early on. That is not what Back from Zarki is doing, though. They found them this little ridge, this little cliff top, as well as some sheds they can fall back to for cover. Anyone that shows up late coming from Sovereign with vehicles might just get their cars exploded here by Back from Zarki. A very aggressive hold here.
We do have some of the teams who have made their way in early. These guys are going to be rewarded for that extra little bit of positioning on their end. So Liquid having the Kameshki area, Samty will be split away, but definitely going to have the time to catch up. But that's going to be the outer side of the circle. Nobody actually going very dead center into Stalber. Do you think that's just more about how difficult it is to get there?
Oh, the compounds in Stalber are garbage. The compounds are good in Erangel, usually just because like they're usually put in tactically amazing positions. But in Stalber, you know, there's a couple of sheds and you can hide in them, and then someone frags you and you're dead. There's like a wizard tower pointing the wrong way up a hill. Someone can just frag a window and you're dead. When it comes to combats in Stalber, you usually don't want to be in them.
Some strong words coming through. Well, we've both got reason to be called out now. Myself and Miramar, and yourself and Stalber.
I love Stalber. Just don't be a compound in it. Like it's not a good place to be.
And of course, okay. Here's a different one for you as well. In duos, I used to love Ruins. Absolutely loved them. In this squad environment, how do you feel about them? Obviously, we're not going to see them this game.
Man. Yeah, we're not going to see it this game, but it's really awkward to go through. Not quite enough loot to drop there, but not quite. It's like not a good tactical position. It's just a weird spot overall. Looking over here, though, we do see Novus Ignis leaving safely from Northern Georgia, bagging himself a kill and grabbing a bit of a spot that is actually a pretty popular like highway to get to the rest of the zone. They already have gotten one kill from this, and this might be a couple of more if squads decide to take that bridge to the north through this route.
If we had a circle down here, this is one of the strongest positions on this map. It's a crossroads whilst also having a fortified compound and a little wizard's tower available, so a lot to work with and a lot at their disposal, but they will have to move away from it. Not going to be able to talk about it too much this game. Shapeshift Gaming will be taking their leave of this situation and also making their rotation over towards the east as they are exiting from North Georgia as well. Some shots coming down from this squad, trying to find anything they can onto Shapeshift Gaming, who are not going to be turning themselves into anything aside from staying alive for now.
Oh, one more shot to Arizona, and they actually get this down. A super aggressive early hold on a choke point, actually getting 2 kills from it for Novus Ignis. We don't very rarely see this, and for good reason. They're not in the zone right now. You know, if you're Arizona, you're screaming, "Why? Why are you there?" And well, you being dead is the reason why they're there right now. Edge plays pretty good, so if you're not fighting for something earlier on, then why not play Edge? Looking like there is Alliance and Habu, though, coming from the west, so Novus Ignis could get lucky and maybe grab one of these 2 squads, though Alliance already wrapping north. Habu looking like that they're just kind of waiting around, willing to blue tank a little bit. But look at the southeast side. There's a lot of groups coming up on that side.
Vitality, FaZe, and Vega Squadron. No matter what, we always seem to see Vitality and FaZe ending up very close together. These guys definitely taking pages out of each other's notebooks, but focusing on Vitality, our winners from game number 1, currently 27th place, with an average of 2.7 kills per game. That is, of course, going to be bumped up by the epic 14-kill game we saw at the head of the show.
They probably won't be able to use the same strategy they did in game 1. There isn't really a game-winning spot that they'll be able to get here, but that game knowledge, that game sense they have will be able to assist them taking fights earlier or later on in this game. Meanwhile, we do see over here on the north side, House of Nobles in a relatively more isolated area of the zone. The north side of Stalber, usually not a place that many teams go. That being said, as I said, we do see Spet Gaming on the hill, driving right on past them, looking like they're just trying to find a spot that feels good to them. Over to their south, though, they're passing right in front of Back from Zarki. It looks like one player driving right through them.
Was an isolated skirmish as well we were seeing as Spet Gaming trying to get a couple of
She
shots
got out
down.
of it.
Sped Gaming
Oh, nice.
going up against Back from Zaki. Back from Zaki able to rip Pierre out of the back of that vehicle, and they will be picking up a kill here. Just on the outside, as you mentioned, if you don't have anything to play for, why not play Edge? And doing that has just netted Back from Zaki a very valuable kill.
As a European speaker yourself, is it Pierre or PJ?
I feel like it's Pierre, but obviously I'm very British. We're awful when it comes to language, and our language is awful as
I'm
well.
American,
So
so it might be even worse.
but if it's PJ, if he wants to get in contact with us, let us know how to get that sorted. We will happily do that just for him. Spet Gaming, on the other hand, are going to be picking up some more combat and a couple more kills as they've got themselves very shallow into the circle. But it picks them up one now. Back from Zaki facing off against M19 here.
Yeah, this is a really good ridge for M19. They did just fire a couple of rounds, so Back from Zarky knows that they're over here. But if you don't want to take this if you're Back from Zarky, yeah. And like they realize that they're falling back down south. They're not looking for anything. With them being on the edge, they're pretty much exactly where they quote unquote should be in a Stalber game. Besides a couple of unique locations, there probably isn't anywhere you should really be fighting for. But one of those unique locations might be the compound of Noxious right now. Squad 15, dead center. I did just get done saying that every compound is garbage, but that is one of the exceptions where that it isn't quite true. It was recently added. It's got a garage building. There is a hill above it, but there's also a hill below it. So it's a little bit vulnerable from the hilltop, but any guys that are to their east, which we already see quite a few, Vega Squadron, for example, a couple of 100 meters to the east, they will be able to get a lot of shots down on them. But we do see up there, Molman, are they spotting them?
Garage cover also covering their backsides pretty handily. Team number 4, Team Wilmer, on top of this hill currently, as they do get a couple of shots in onto Mister. They will be feeling the pain, but they're not going to have to move. They're not under too much pressure, and they can play this as passively or as aggressively as they want. At the second, it's just make your own adventure, as many of these teams are doing.
They do have one of the only good compounds. We'll be looking at what they do later on, but most of the teams know that they just can't push this location at this point. Looking around now, we do see it's like Habu getting into a fight, as well as on this eastern spread. A lot of teams, this is going to be really awkward where they have to move, but they won't have to move for quite a while. It looks like the Liquid taking some fire from 54th of the Vega Squadron. He is very far away from his team. This is pretty aggressive to be looking for a fight when you're this isolated from your team.
I don't think he minds at this point in time. He's definitely got the balls, and he's playing.
There's two full squads next to him.
I'm not going to finish that sentence anytime
This is crazy.
He is getting some looks down, and he does have pretty good vision of both of these squads, but as you mentioned, very isolated from his team, needing to move as soon as he can. Of course, if he moves too soon or too recklessly, he is going to get picked off incredibly quickly, especially when there are about 7 scopes looking in his general direction. He's going to be feeling the pressure, and there's going to be sweat dripping from his brow at the second.
Oh, look at this. James making a move. It looks like he's trying to scout a future location for his squad if they do need it. This hilltop looking like it's got a lot of overwatch to the east, so if Liquid decides they want to move, they will be able to do that. That being said, there is Vitality to the southeast as well as FaZe to their north. A couple of decently good players that love to contest with. This new zone giving us just centering more on Stalber, though.
Yeah, so these hills that we mentioned at the head of this game are going to be coming into play. We notice as we're just getting these good, lovely shots coming through. Thank you very much, Seb. As Haxete forgets how to drive momentarily, but looking at these hills, incredibly steep, very difficult for teams to move up, and also moving down could get them out of cover very quickly at this. Plenty of tree coverage, however, but some of these trees just a little too thin.
Looking like Vega has since regrouped with their one scout. Looks like the head of Mista, though, getting on the wrong side of someone else's rifle. But we already hear a couple of shots ringing out, as it looks like Vega's getting pinned by Liquid.
Liquid still with 4 players left alive. A long shot from how they were at this stage of the last game. We still have to consider, though, 15th place is still on the table for any of these teams.
Oh, yeah.
Liquid with 4 players, probably not going to be happening anytime soon with this, but it could happen at any time. 15th place, still not enough teams, or no teams at all, being taken out of the game. Vega Squadron currently finding their own small compound. They will be on the receiving end of some fire from Team 15 to their west.
Ooh. A new squad rolling up, and Vitality rolling right up to the bottom of Liquid's hill. This is super aggro from them. Everyone heard this happen, but Vitality does not care. They're just pushing right up into Liquid. When this hill is actually too steep for Liquid to look down, they should be able to get up nice and safe, or at least relatively. But if they go too far south, then Vega will be able to pin them from behind.
One member of Liquid quite far detached to the northwest, as he will be providing overlook is Jeems on this one, leaving this as a 4 versus 3 in close combat. Jeems not able to provide any closer cover. Vitality, once again, the winners from last game, not taking too many steps and not taking them recklessly, just peeking where they can. Not hearing any shots just at the second to their southwest, however. They will be hearing shots taken over onto Jeems, as Vega Squadron looking to get some tags.
They're super important for Vitality to have the information. They know they can't flank south. They gotta take this compound, but ooh, it looks like Arexi getting down by Scoom, just jumping a little bit too late over that ridge. Vitality, though, not going back for him. They're just gonna make a 3-man push here.
All or nothing, everything on the line. 15th place is currently standing in both of these teams' ways. Shadow leading to push around the outside as Ibiza. He's just going to move back to the
something
compound.
was wrong.
Himself. Yeah. Definitely not taking too many dangerous steps on this one. Everything on the line still.
This is sort of playing into the Overwatch of Liquid Jeems, though. He couldn't see it first of all, but he can definitely cover the north side of this compound. With Vitality's current location, though, they're just not going back for their 4th. A very curious play. He looks like he might be revivable. If they just go back for him, but they're worried about some sort of bait situation coming in. This 3-man pseudo push and then not actually going through with it, it puts them in a very awkward spot now.
As you mentioned, with these hills, too steep to look down and possibly too steep to look up. Scoom traded out here as Ibiza. He will be in a position to go and pick up his squad mate as a counter to what we've seen from the rest of Vitality. The nade is coming in, though, and that's going to finish Scoom off. Excellent throw as the Kobe comes down and Shadow claims his victim. Ibiza still closing these doors, making sure that this compound is secure. They know that Vitality are still there, and they know that Vitality want this push.
Super passive for Vitality, and you know if they can grab kills like that base off of just a hugely insane Kobe, you know that Liquid is really feeling the pressure. Another frag going through the window. It might take down Ibiza, but ooh, it looks like it might have bounced off the windowsill, detonating outside. Vitality, though, they got the throwing arms, but looking at this, they do not have time anymore. There's only still 1 play left in this combat. Samty has now relinked back up with Jeems, and Vitality have to push up through a significant portion of the open blue zone. Liquid not quite in either, but Vitality definitely not in a great spot yet.
Looking at Vitality's crosshairs, they had an idea that somebody was on top of this hill. 1 for 1 at the second as the gunfire comes down. Sampty being shot from multiple directions now. Jeems with the M24. He's going to be looking down on top of this hill. 1 extra player of Vitality does go down as Ibiza will be the one to claim this. Jeems trying to pick Sampty up. The emergency record is being played as the sirens turned on. It looks like Sampty, he's going to be calling Jeems a hero for this one. Shiv, in the meantime, as the final remaining standing member of Vitality, just forced into a different position, running up those hills to the north of the current Team Liquid roster, as 1 player, Ibiza, who is left behind, is just going to finish off those kills and secure another 2 for Liquid.
Looks like Vitality not quite dying yet, but oh, look at this on the northeast side phasing, coming right up against House of Nobles. There's only 2 members left on this southern flank as well. Fuzzface very, very close to Flix. There's a couple of rocks here that House of Nobles have for cover, but they aren't even yet aware of FaZe to their southeast.
We did just see somebody getting mowed down by the kill feed there.
By the kill feed.
Playzone is going to be securing 1 victim. Flix taken down from Team 7. The House of Nobles coming face to face with FaZe. Try saying that twice as fast as Sunbird getting tagged incredibly hard. Fuzzface looking over the top of these rocks, knows exactly where the player is. Fragnade does come down, pin pulled. Kobe, will it be?
Oh.
It won't. Very close, but the second the barrage does come down, Sunbird, he's going to be sweating here as FaZe. We know how aggressive they like to get when they have a player pinned down.
Yeah, but they don't quite know where everyone is. They've only identified 1 or 2 players. There's still at least 4, to their knowledge, unidentified. And Botsman off to the north. It won't be able to help, but FaZe doesn't quite know that. Looks like they're not willing to take a push quite yet. They can't get it down with the frag. And if they get caught in the wrong spot here in Stalber, like we saw before, easily get third-partied, and all of a sudden one bad fight turns into an entire dead squad.
Love how FaZe play these games. They notice the player is there, and they realize they need the space to work with. They do not take any risks. They finish these players off, and they are going to execute this squad as Sunbird taken down onto the floor as House of Nobles will be moving down to 1 player. Team 3 back from Zaki are going to be entering from the west.
This is super congested. Look how many squads are in this area. Looks like Fawn spotting elite player to the north, getting a couple shots onto him. But looking at the minimap, we see Shapeshift Gaming hearing these shots, might be cresting over this hill. They have a couple of compounds and some actual hard cover that they can use to repel invaders. And as well as the west side, so they don't have to move. They can see there as long as they want. The ball is definitely back from Zarki's court, seeing what they can do. How are they're going to push into or around this chokehold on the western side?
Essential knows where those shots were coming from. He's getting as many jiggle peeks in there as possible, just trying to get as much intel while staying safe. Team 3 heading towards M19, or Team 5 at this moment in time. Zenta whiffing a couple of those shots, but in the end, it will be the finisher. Konstantinovic taken down very quickly as the Wanderer will be next on the hit list. Elite player, the final remaining player from that squad. We'll just have to see how elite he is when he's going up against this 3-man unit.
Looks like the ridge and the grass is a little bit too much a spot of me. He is going for full-on prone boy strats. Level 3 backpack, holding all of the things all of his worries are in that backpack. All of the pressure put on him by his team here. The shrink is coming in. He isn't quite inside, and with back from Zarki rotating directly on top of him, he might find himself a little bit more full of holes than he was a few seconds ago. Zenta getting very close here.
He doesn't want to make any sound. He's heard the footsteps and there we go. Zenta picking that one off very quickly. Not going to be stopping to get any loot as they did make some of the noise coming into this. The next squad back from Zaki will be going up towards. Will be Alliance here on the.
They already got it down as well. Look at that. Not quite in the zone as well. And Alliance are actually going off of that. They're going super aggressive here, but have very little cover to make it work. Yeah, Meteor smelling something. This is not a good strategy for success. Not enough cover, not enough to work with. We'll be pulling back a little bit, but this is definitely a pretty fair fight as the res does come off. Alliance, though, they could pull back and have a lot more cover to work with, and Metal will be doing just that.
Metal was one of the names we spoke about as an extra addition to the Alliance roster. Previous FaZe and Gorilla Core, excellent player, being a veteran of this scene. And he's definitely showing his veteran status as this game does come to a head. Still 4 players of Alliance left inside this game. And back from Zaki are trying to mount the push for players themselves. We could be getting the full squad fight coming up next.
Yep, the shrink is just about done. And looking at this, back from Zarki almost out of options. Spotting up Meteor in the open, though. Dave the Crazy getting a couple of shots off in that direction. They don't have much cover, though. They have the geography of the hill, but they don't have really any rocks. They don't have any trees. They don't even have any bushes they can hide with. They're winning this pretty much based off of just geography alone. But with this next zone, where will they have to go is the question. Not too far, but there are so many teams crammed into this small area directly inside Stalber.
Stalber Ruins, no less. We spoke about Ruins in short earlier on, and the verdict's pretty simple on this one. Awkward. This could be an incredibly hectic fight if these players don't check their angles quite as well. We have to expect that they will be doing exactly that as Liquid starting to make their push from the southeast, already claiming 1 member as Jeems getting the frag. Lunde, will he be able to find anybody on the backside as he knows where those were coming from, but he has to get into the rocks. Can't make too much noise as there's a team to his west.
This is a very wide split from Team Wilmot. With one player getting down, there's pretty much saying, okay, you handle that, you handle Liquid, and I'll handle FaZe, is the team that is the start that Wilmot's going for. I'm not sure if this is going to work, though, because both of those squads have a full 4-man, essentially accepting 2v4s at the same time. With already losing one down here, Hyundai has a lot of work ahead of him.
Look at how close he is to the entirety of Liquid as well. Liquid will be hearing shots from elsewhere, and still it's kicking off as FaZe. They're just wiping everyone left, right, and center. Fuzzface is returned off, but they're in such a safe position they will be able to get that return back up. Meanwhile, Hyundai taken down to the floor as Jeems looking over onto Raffi.
Yeah, this split from Team Wilma definitely too wide to actually reliably cover everything. And look, this Raffi, he has helmet blown off. And when you're peeking rocks like this, the helmet is oftentimes all you're going to see. Liquid, they realize they've only gotten one kill and they're expecting more. But while they're being nice and passive here, Havu coming in very close on the southwest side. Can they spot Liquid? And Silencio might. Yeah, he sees them on the rocks. Might be going for a push here, but this situation getting even more awkward for Liquid as there's one team on one side of the rocks and another full squad in form of Havu on the other.
We'll be having a very convoluted fight coming up soon, so we may need to take a couple of very deep breaths before we get into this one. 9 teams remaining inside
Get your
this game.
whiteboards out.
I think I'm going to be needing a third lung if this goes the way it's looking. We've got 9 teams, 28 players left alive, and a circle with the circumference of around about 200 and it's not the circumference. Sorry, what's the all the way across?
Radius, diameter.
That's diameter. That's the one.
There you go.
There we go. My goodness, I don't know how I got a.
It's small, people. It's very small. They're packed tighter than a couple of sardines in a can, is what we're looking at. That's how we say it here. Raffi getting finished off by Liquid, and with that solo getting finished off that insta, no down. Liquid know that this side of the rocks is in fact clear. They will be able to use this against Havu in the future, as well as FaZe their north. They need to be actually having a plan soon, though. The shrink is just about finishing up, and they have to go west. That's right through Havu. That's right through Novus Ignis. There's a lot of people in between them and the new zone.
Havu having the number of Liquid at here, and also one thing we have to consider, Liquid, difficult terrain to move over with those rocks, so they could be put into an incredibly difficult position. Havu having excellent position on the circle, as well as Shapeshift Gaming, not having too far to move. The Lin from Team 6, he's going to be taking some shots himself, as Novus Ignis still with as many, pretty much all of their players left alive, so this is just going to get very populated very soon.
A lot of full squads making their way in here. Meanwhile, on the northeast here, FaZe making the move, and Mixie getting down from Liquid Ibiza on the side. Meanwhile, on the northwest side, oh, a big push coming out from back from Zarki. Only Zenta making it in. The rest of his squad is all dead. Refugee Strats coming out here as Essential, along with Iron Menace, going around the corner, peeking and finishing them off. A very rough start, but there's another full squad in the form of Alliance that is ready to take on the weakened players here. Alliance getting fragged. VZ almost going down. Meadow holding the line here. Luckily, they have this chest-high wall to work with, but that's not too much, nor is it in the zone.
Down to 7 teams, 21 players, and the shrink is going to be starting here. Team 12, Shapeshift Gaming, trying to gatekeep off Alliance, but Alliance returning fire far too quickly for them to recover. That's going to be it. Team 6. Oh, sorry, 6 teams now left inside this. A Shapeshift eliminated in 7th place. Alliance getting themselves a position onto these ruins. Time to catch their breath and move in. Mixie still in the open, trying to crawl desperately over to Gemty. We could quickly pull up the team list. I think FaZe are down to 2 players here.
They lost a lot of players in that run across the opening. They're lucky they didn't get eliminated completely, but having 2 members left in this endgame is a lot more than many other teams can say. Meanwhile, on the south side, we see Liquid versus Havu. At least the aftermath of that looks like that Samty has stuck his way in, and Havu only lost 1. They're trying to frag him out. They at least will be getting some on Jeems, who is currently down and bleeding out. But with Samty here in this corner, definitely playing those solo sneaky strats, which in the ruins can definitely work. But they know exactly where he is. Samty actually going for the revive. This is so brave of him.
Brass balls coming in as Liquid trying to keep as many players alive as they possibly can. Jeems back on his feet now, still breathing. Samty breathing just around those corners, but can't be too loud whilst they're doing this. Havu with 3 players left alive on the outside of the circle now. They'll have to move to the northwest, and my goodness, that org sounds beautiful.
Oh man, I love it, man. Looking over here, Dorsey, he has spotted James' little head there, so they can probably guess that a revive did in fact come out. He is trying to put some pre-fire, but with Liquid, they have a long way to go. One full squad in either direction, with a frag coming out from Skirklaw. I think it's a new squad entirely from their north. They just cannot catch a break here.
Nobody having any chance to breathe. Alliance haven't taken any losses so far.
They're in a good
no
spot.
Wounds to be carterized here. Team 6, Novus Ignis, also in a very similar position as they're trying to push onto FaZe. But
They've been
these
playing
angles...
super interesting all game, but looking over here, Bladebuyer, this might be the end. They have found a little small spot on their east side, but FaZe getting knocked by the full 4-man of Alliance. Bladebuyer stealing that down, getting another kill for their total of 8. Looks like they might have found a way in, but they just been playing really super aggro all game. I'm glad they're still here.
Sampty not able to move into the play zone as once again the difficult terrain being their undoing. That's going to be Liquid taken out in 5th place. FaZe down to a solo member now, could be taking 4th position as Harvu, Novus Ignis, Alliance and FaZe still remain in this game. One
They
member
were
of
in the
Alliance
game.
taken down.
FaZe going down to 4th place as their last player doesn't get taken out. Alliance, though, a little bit distracted. That is not something from wiping almost all of Havu here. There is Novus Ignis taking that chance to make a pusher. It's just Bikini Model Jorski coming up from the side saying, can I please get the revive? No, he's just going to be sitting there trying to provide some information to his squad. Just a pile of Bikini Models downed and bleeding friends. It looks like Novus Ignis not going to be taking a push here, but it's the stun grenade doesn't quite hit Bikini Model, though.
You just got baited a little bit there, my friend. But
Oh, no.
taking a look at this, that's Bikini Model taken down onto the floor. I don't really mind taking incredibly low health. Alliance still having 3 members left alive, and it looks like Harvu will be getting Jorski back up and into the
goodness.
game.
Oh no! He
The push
doesn't
coming
see
through,
him!
Lin didn't see it! Not what we wanted to see, as the Lin taken out of this game entirely. Jorski still on the floor, but there it is, the jump, the push, the execution, as 2 teams now remain. Alliance with 3 players going up against Novus Ignis, who had a quiet game 1, but they're bringing it back here and putting their everything into game 2.
I don't know about you, but I can do some quick math, and Alliance having 4 up, they see 6 alive from the corner, they realize that they have a 4v2 ahead of them. They pretty much know exactly where these last 2 are. That being said, they've been getting creative all game here in Stalver, finding the weirdest routes and angles of fire that they could have, but Alliance here going for a blue tank flank here on the side. This could kill Bladebuyer if he doesn't suspect that this is going to happen.
Looks like Blade is currently trying to peek around the corridor. VZ stacking it up, but Blade peeking a little too far. It's Sigsy with the quick trigger finger as VZ pushing now, getting an extra angle for himself. Metal running around the side. He's going to be spotted out very quickly. Bladebuyer taken down onto the floor. Metal bot next into the equation. The jump,
So
the push,
aggressive.
the blue tank. There it is as Alliance pick up game number 2 and themselves a chicken dinner in another cleanly executed game.
Alliance were like wolves at the end there. They smelled blood. They almost went really crazy and went for a wide flank into the blue, but nah, they just said, all right, we'll just throw bodies at the problem and see if that solves it, and it did. Just jumping around that corner, getting those spray downs. As soon as they realized there was a weakness, they grabbed onto it, they strangled the life out of Novus Ignis, and claimed first place. A very nice endgame play.
One thing to say as well, we have to bear in mind that the blue zone at this point in time is going to be doing 15 ticks of damage every single second. They have such a limited amount of time. I believe it's 15, but let's just say it hurts. It hurts like holy
At 100
hell.
HP.
At 100 HP, these guys have such a limited amount of time to execute that play, and that's exactly what they did. First jump onto the rocks, second jump over the side, blind fire before they're coming down, and then leaving plenty of room for the extra players who are pushing in to execute that play.
Well, that was Game 2, Alliance taking that victory. Hope you guys enjoyed it because we have 2 more games here at the PUBG Online EU split coming soon. Don't go anywhere. Our desk will be breaking that game down while we get Game 3 set up for you.
Thank you very much, Dudge and Seal. A Stalber ruin ending, boys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's it's always
That
it's
is-
always it's interesting to see the least.
Wow.
That was crazy.
I don't think I've ever seen like actually like I've seen close
Like on top.
Yeah, but that was actually on top on the plateau of the Stalber Mountain, and that is just. I mean, that was something else. That was chaos. 9 teams, 31 alive in circle number 7 or 29. Like, what? Wild stuff. Now, it is Alliance, full aggro at the end, 4v2 or 4v2 if I'm not mistaken, taking on Novice Ignis, going for the very aggressive push, which I love. All 4 members completely balls to the wall, making sure that they clean that up. No issues, nothing to worry about there. So I think that's very important. And this is what we see right here. Alliance here, full aggro as they get the down onto Blade Buyer, and then Bootless is pushed on the side by Metter. And this is what you got to do. Don't send one at a time. Push both angles at the exact same time. They definitely deserve their props there, especially for surviving everything that went down on the northern side of this mountain. Pure chaos. Now, there is about 1,000 things to break down in this game. So, Cameron, I'm going to throw it to you first, my friend. Take it away.
Yeah. So Stalber circles are always fun to play around, but it's like not even just the ending itself. Even usually by the time it hits mid game, it either decides if it wants to be like a west, north, not really north, northwest, west, south circle. This one was like on top of Stalber the entire time, and the reason why you saw so many people alive, so many full squads in the late game, but also why we saw so few deaths in the early game, is because just that mountain being there, it cuts off so many sight lines, and it means that it makes it that much more difficult to put pressure over the entirety of the map. Like, you just saw how close Vitality got to the Liquid before they were spotted.
Yeah.
And so that just meant that a lot of teams, they kind of had to play like everything was so close to the chest, you weren't able to take shots at anyone from across the way. And so even though we didn't see any, you don't expect to see any full squad wipes until mid game, if not afterwards, we hardly saw any just straight downs or picking off a couple of stragglers like we usually do, because that mountain being there makes, like, you don't have any super long rotations through. You kind of have to stick on the side of the mountain that you're on. But also just the fact that you couldn't really see much because that mountain is in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, how is a team supposed to play that? Like, I don't even know where to begin on what the game plan is going in when you're like, oh, it's in the ruins on top of Stalber. Like, oh, okay.
Well, and that's like one of the things that I kind of wanted to bring up to you guys and kind of get your opinions on. So, last game we were talking about how the circle ended up on military, which was really bad for Liquid. Well, this time it ends up right on top of Liquid, but instead of seeing them transition from Yasnaya up to Stalber, we saw them transition over to Kamishki. And I was kind of wondering, is it better to take that high ground, to take that high Stalber point early, or is it better to just kind of play the sides? Or because I feel like if worst comes to worst, and you do end up having to push up the mountain, it's a lot harder to push up that mountain than it is to push down. But I'm not entirely sure. What are y'all's opinions on that?
Yes, it is harder to push up, perhaps, but the chances of it, this is the first time we've ever seen a Stalber, an actual Stalber ending, so the chances of that happening are like it's fair to hedge your bets against that as compared to a Yasnaya, a more Yasnaya ending, or ending that's more on the west side. And so in the early game, being central obviously helps, but you want to go for a compound that adds more, that's good for information, but also rotations out of it. It's not until you hit the third or fourth circle that that the actual play zone of the game has been dictated.
And we talk about this a lot, and it's kind of a a strange circumstance where if there's a team that looted the Stalber area and they're holding down that area because it is a northeastern zone, they never stay in the ruins area of Stalber. They never try and hold that down. And one of the reasons why is what we talk about all the time. When you're holding down a compound, you want sight lines, right? That is the number one key to success in this game, is having as much information about what is going on around you as humanly possible. And it doesn't give you any. There's so much cover up there. There's just so much blocking it. And then even if you're looking over the edge, it's just a mountain. Like, you can't see, there's trees and everything everywhere. You have no real sense of information when you're in Stalber. And I think that's why it was one of those situations where teams kind of avoid it until they're like, oh my God, this is really happening. And then when it's finally like, this is a real thing, this is going down, that's where we saw Novice Ignis moving in. They were dead center circle when it finally clicked and made the decision like, no, we're staying in ruins. They were the one holding down that center location right there. There you see them on the bottom left holding down that zone. And this is the chaos that ensued. I mean, everybody just all over the place. There's teams right next to each other. Zenta right next to Essential here. Like, there's so much cover to be played and so many obstructions of sight lines that it's impossible to hold down Stalber as a compound. And I think that's why players avoid it. It's the same reason that players avoid cities, because you don't know how close somebody else is until this happens right here when I Don't Really Mind takes out the Lin from behind. Like, you have no idea how close these players are.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that earlier when we saw the Alliance kind of taking out Back from Zarki from behind. That was really cool because we saw earlier that Alliance, they almost wanted to push onto Back from Zarki once Back from Zarki took out the solo player that we saw hanging out, and I forget who it was. But they didn't go for it because they didn't have much cover. The fact that they had the information that Back from Zarki were there, they allowed Back from Zarki to get in through that choke point first, took him out from behind, but also allowed Zarki at least a couple of moments to deal some damage to the other team that was there, I believe Shapeshift Gaming. Yeah, and so this is actually Back from Zarki who's taking control of this part of the circle. Yep, the lead player being the solo player is at this moment that Alliance knew. You can see them on the minimap that Back from Zarki was there. They kind of allowed Back from Zarki to pave the way into it for them, and that was one of the major things that allowed Alliance to keep all four alive and allowed to take this in a whole game.
Yeah, and we saw Metter kind of teasing it a little bit. As he was running over, he's like, oh, let's take this fight, let's take this fight. And as they approached, it's like, no, hold on. This doesn't look great. This isn't a completely advantage fight. And those are the ones that you want to take, the ones where you know we have an advantage here. Let's take this fight. Let's get rid of these players. And once they're approaching, didn't like what they saw, so they backed off a little bit more patience, let Back from Zarki move up the hill, just like Cameron said, and go make a play on it. So I think that was great movement from Alliance. Vitality versus Liquid. Liquid able to come out on top in this contest, which was, once again, another great one to see. One of those situations is, if you're Vitality there, I mean, obviously they're not expecting a team to be holding that early. That's why they moved up so aggressive. And they had a nice hill, so you can actually approach that compound and be safe for the most part. If there is someone inside, you stop, you stand there, you're like, okay, we can take this fight. We can set up a 4v4 here. They did lose one early, and then they lost two more. And I think that was hugely in part for Liquid actually moving two players uphill, which I love, being very patient with that. Two, yes, exactly, and keeping Ibiza down there. And Ibiza was able to get the third down on Vitality. Vitality, unfortunately, a 15th this game, so a tough break for them running into Liquid so early. But a lot of wild stuff, man. Novice Ignis, I think they did great. The early aggression, not something we normally see out of that squad. Being very patient in their movement, waiting at choke points, trying to get some early kills. They fragged out 10 kills coming out of them, 10 kills out of Alliance. So two huge games for both of those squads. I think a very well done job for sure. But once again, I mean, just the ruins, like, I feel bad. Because I just don't know, like, what the play is once it's in ruins. Like, you can try and go center, but there's too many corners to check.
You basically had to kind of swing around the side the same way that we saw Hobbit, the same way that we saw Alliance do. And even Novice Ignis at the end, they pulled back from the center that they found themselves in, because being center that late isn't always the best. Because if you have to watch 360 degrees around you, while if you're on the edge, obviously that limits the scope of where you have to be paying attention to.
Right, absolutely. So hopefully now we get a little more calm circle. Make no promises, but, you know, we've gone down to military in game number one, you know, on the eastern side. Then we had the actual Stalber ruins. north, just south of Severny. Give me a field here. A little Gaka field ending, something like that. Let's just calm it down, Zarky. I actually don't mind north of Georgia Pole. I actually really like the terrain up there. I think it makes for great fights. I would not mind that. We don't need to go as far as Zarky, but
Zarky. No, Zarky. It's plugged in.
Just north of Georgia Pole. And
our producers are putting into the custom settings right now. Zarky and
Zarky. That would be awesome.
We already texted Poopy Queen.
We already texted. It's 100% confirmed and happening. The Zarky ending in game number 3. So, game number 1 belonged to Vitality with a 14-kill win. Game number 2 going to Alliance, 10 kills themselves. Novice Ignis grabbing a second place with 10 kills as well. So, great job from those squads. All having good days. Spec Gaming, a 2nd and a 6th so far. FaZe, a 5th and a 4th. Even when we don't hear that much out of FaZe, of course, they're just 4th. It's fine. We'll just casually get a top 5 every single time.
It's a universal constant. FaZe is going to get top 5.
Every single game. Unbelievable. But it is nice. I like that. I like the reference there. But it is now time to head into game number 3. We have 2 more games here for you, and I'm excited. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully it's a good location, and hopefully it's nice, calm fights and not 9 people or 9 teams, 29 alive in circle number 7. So let's kick it right into game number 3 right now with Mr. Dudge, Daniel Sandal, and a little Fuzzy Seal.
Game 3 of the PUBG Online Showdown Tournament now coming live to you guys as 15 teams heading into the plane, heading over to Erangel, and looking to make the halfway mark just put behind us as the level of play is going to increase through the roof even further. Once again, you're joined by myself, Daniel Sandal, and joining me is going to be Seal. How are we looking for this one now we have a plane path like this?
It's looking pretty good, man. Besides military-based, players and teams should be able to get to pretty much wherever they want to go, especially FaZe. They're the entirety of military power to themselves, so they at the very least are feeling a nice, calm early game. And once again, Liquid going to their early stomping grounds, but not this time. They're not being contested by Noxious. I think that is Noxious that is going over north towards the Stalber Kameshki area. They got a taste of it last game, and I was saying, can I get some more? Can I please get some more?
Well, Georgia Pole is going to be coming in pretty hot again, as we do have about 5 teams actually making their exit out to playing around this area. The 2 teams heading towards Georgia Pole, taking North Georgia themselves. So 2 squads in this area once again, as Alliance heading for a nice split. Sigsy and I believe that is... Sorry, Metal and Fever heading further south down towards the Gatka area, where we have Sigsy and VZ heading towards South George.
The interesting thing that we've seen about all of our Georgia Pool contests is that we've seen 2 squads drop in a very close area. We haven't seen anyone drop far west side of Georgia yet. But, looking over here, we see Rafi getting it down onto Arizona with a vehicle. Yep, the story tells itself right here. Actually, no, what's Rafi doing there? It looks like Rafi getting finished off, and then Arizona getting picked up. It looks like someone got a roadkill, but his teammate was in a compound with a gun.
He's looking for the Steam achievements. You can still get them inside the custom games, and there is one for running people over.
Severny is being contested right here. It looks like it was anyway. Flicks down on the eastern side shows that it looks like that Squad 2, that's Vegas Squadron, has been able to claim it for themselves, while the rest of the guys on House of Nobles are going to be looting shooting range in the surrounding area with only a squad of 3 from here on out. I don't see Flicks getting revived here.
It will be very difficult to do so. Left out to dry, House of Nobles, and down in the southeast is where our circle is going to be taking us this time around. Very comfortable for teams like FaZe and Vitality, as they're so familiar with these sorts of areas. Liquid as well, not too far to move outside of Yasnias. They can get a very early rotation in for themselves.
A lot of very strong compounds here. I'm specifically looking at around the area where Shape Shift Gaming currently is. We saw already a little bit of blood being shed for the loot there, but these garage buildings are about as godlike as it gets, and there's about 3 or 4 of them in the area. I'll be curious to see how both Squad 12 space Shapeshift, oh my god, Shapeshift Gaming decide to make this work out, because they have a lot of options ahead of them. But that being said, there's also a couple of squads, in Milta Power phase over there. There's just a team in Milta as well they're gonna need to decide soon where and which compound they want to take, because Vitality or FaZe could easily snatch it out from under their fingertips.
Exactly. Plenty of things are going to be opened up from a circle like this. We even have the hangars and barns quite opposite the Millie Beach area. That's going to be inside the circle. Milta, of course, alongside Mini Milta, and the entire coastline surrounding that. Shelter and prison, we don't get to see that too often just because of how hard it can be to exit those places.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with shelter, we've seen people actually starting to trap people in with vehicles now. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's like a last ditch. You showed up late, and why would someone be under shelter? So let's go there and hope it works. And usually it does, because it's relatively garbage, as you were kind of sort of alluding to. That being said, though, there are a lot of these really, really nice compounds opened up, and as we get closer to sort of that 1 minute mark, we probably will start to be seeing some scouts, seeing where they can grab these compounds, which ones are still open. Looks like we're already seeing Vitality doing that. We see a little 11 on the mini-map there, as well as Space Shift Gaming. I got it right this time. Look at that. We'll be claiming the easternmost garage building, sort of down the hill from Lumber. Trying to claim it. Okay, a little bit of a bumper car action, but they're gonna be fine.
The lumber mill area is actually quite an interesting one, especially just being south of prison. In the standard PUG games that you get whenever you go into solo queue or something like that, you can get some pretty interesting fights there, and it's not so much a hot drop anymore, but these teams really shying away from some of these areas. We'll have to see whether lumber mill does become favored by anyone, as it does offer a fairly decent amount of geographical cover going forwards. Team 3 over on the west side, back from Zaki, a team which we've actually had the pleasure of calling quite a few times, because these guys seem to have a habit of getting themselves into the hot areas.
Yeah, they have a very interesting play style. Whether you like them and Novus Ignis or some teams, I've just been looking at them and scratching my head, just being like, huh, interesting. And as we see, at the very least, for one of them, it worked out pretty well. Novus Ignis in second place last game. I'd like to see what Back from Zark can do this game, though, because they are not quite so far from the zone that they have no hopes of getting in. But also at this point, we already do know that a lot of the early compounds are taken. So what their decision-making is going in for them, as well as the Liquid, who we see here over the northeast, will be pretty important to determine their squad's tactical position later in the game.
Liquid, very familiar with these compounds. One of the playstyles they established early on in the scene, the surrounding areas of the school and apartment. There's about 4 or 5. I'm just going to let you have this. Go ahead.
It's a 249! I love this gun. I'm sorry, you were saying? I just want to get that out there.
No, it's cool. We actually spoke about the M249 not quite at length yesterday because you weren't on the cast for it. What is it you love about it?
It's like one of the best guns in the game, in my opinion. It's very unpopular. It's very controversial because when you're standing up with a gun, it has a lot of sway. It's unlike any other gun for that reason. But when you're crouched, it is so good, whether you be shooting cars, people, anything. That being said, they did release a new update that apparently changed guns around a little bit. So I'm not sure if it's still like that. But as of yesterday, it's a dang good gun.
Especially at that short-range engagement as well.
It
does take people by surprise. I've had a couple of games where, it's just available to you. You're going to put a red dot on there, and tree-to-tree combat. Absolutely incredible. If you're able to get that spray down, oh my goodness.
I love the 249. Favorite gun. Best gun.
We were talking about other great guns as well yesterday. The one that I've been sleeping on up until recently is the MK14. Absolutely love that gun, but we're not going to get too much of a chance to talk about it in a second, as Blade Buyer going to be taking Konstantinovic.
It looks like actually a fight coming out here, as Blade Buyer getting the trade here. Finishing off the down, though, is the Lin. Looks like he will be able to get Blade Buyer up. And interestingly enough, looks like the sort of outcome of this Jordan split is different every time. With, last time they just sort of both went their separate ways, but this time getting into a fight on the eastern edge of Georgie. Looks like, though, with not having a vehicle, there will be a bit of a retreat called from Novus Ignis, saying, all right, let's trade some loot, let's get our stuff in order, because we do have a very, very long way to go for the zone.
Around the Georgia Pole area, these teams will be having some nice access to vehicles. It's just a matter of getting to them and getting to them safely. Of course, driving will be the separate matter, which we won't even go into. We've seen a few accidents so far this evening. Inside the circle currently, it's Team 12 facing off against Team 4, so Wilma versus Shapeshift Gaming. Shapeshift also trying to take some gunfire down onto Spet Gaming as they move south of Shelter.
Shapeshift going with a split pretty late into this. Two guys holding farm, two more players holding the Milta split. Looks like James, though, will be getting shot out of his vehicle by Maxazor, holding a very peculiar area. We usually only see this place being held in just in zones that host the sort of Lipovka area. Holding this area is very strange. Liquid probably pretty miffed that they lost someone moving over this area.
Team Liquid not having the best of luck with early rotations over the course of the evening. We saw in Game 1, 2 losses very early. And Game 2, on the other hand, was actually very favourable for them. Had a decent showing all the way through and making it into a top 10 scenario as well.
Place, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And Phase 4, if I remember that one. We did have a very different showing from them this time in the second game. With Liquid, one of those teams where even when they are down a couple of members, we can still see them doing incredible things all the way throughout.
They're definitely the most aggro when they have a full squad, though, and that's usually where you see them if they do pull out those really sick plays. We do see over here Team Wilma being pretty aggro in the shelter area, trying to get their bearings around. They are spotting out a couple of the squads that are around them. Back from Zarky to their northwest, Alliance to their southwest. There are still a couple of these so-called God compounds that are open right now, and a couple of squads that are still split up in the area. Also looking around as well, we see Hadbu coming in from the southwest. The guys on Novus hitting us from the Georgie area as well. Quite a few squads making their way into the farm area, and it looks like just about everyone has been able to find a reasonable home at this point.
I'm surprised we're not seeing anybody taking East Bridge at this moment in time. Of course, it's one of those areas which can be quite dangerous to get themselves onto and will require a flank through Sostovka Island to get themselves on. But being able to approach that circle from the south, even if you have to get one team out of your way, can be such a strong position, especially considering we aren't seeing too many players down there at the moment in time.
That's information that we have and they don't. And the only thing worse than crossing a bridge once is crossing it twice. So probably not too keen on doing that. But we do see that there on this west side. I'm happy you brought that up. Actually, there's a lot of similar areas near this spot. We actually are seeing right here Pro 100 trying to make sure they can contest all these spots, but there's simply too much for them. It'll probably be pretty hard for Kravik and Frank to actually cover all those western angles.
Spread very thin for sure, as Harvu have made their entrance into the it's the Yellow Cliff buildings over on the south side of the current circle.
It says on the map. It's the Yellow Cliff building in big white letters on the map.
Fantastic start for them. So I mean, they're going to be moving over. That's quite nice.
It was a joke. Oh no. The first circle is just about finished up. Havu on the west and House of Nibbles in the northwest, as well as Crispbeard and Rixnas. I'm pretty sure that's Noxious on the far north side. Those are the three big squads that kind of don't have a home yet, but this new zone is essentially showing us more of the same. Alliance as well as SG having a pretty good spot, but it looks like on the southwest side, Havu finally taking some fire. Frickin' Arano not quite able to get Silencio down.
Map starting to close itself down. Harvu hearing a couple of shots, but they have a compound to themselves just around the farm area. Team 12, as mentioned, Shapeshift Gaming, will be taking a small section of the farm, covering that. No need to move just yet, so rotations have been made, and the teams will be preparing for their next move for our next circle soon.
Definitely favoring the position of Alliance right here. They're pretty much dead center of the zone. Them and their neighbors off to the east with Spec Gaming, and then one of the best spots. That being said, the hill above them to the northwest still open, but in prison, looks like Liquid Ibiza getting a bit of a revenge from game one as they do take Crispier out of his vehicle. Looking like the rest of the team will dismount. There's a full-on squad fight happening here.
Team 15 starting to throw the nades out, and Noxious coming onto the scene very heavily, going up against Team Liquid, our best, or at least as the standings would suggest, team currently in the standings. Rixnas does take a bit of damage on the outside of that grenade, pushing in still. Trying to find as much of this information as he can receive. Liquid with a very wide flank all the way across. Rixnas taking more damage still as Liquid. Samty pushes around the side, able to secure one down very quickly. Rixnas not responding to this one, and that's going to cost him his life as Ibiza is the one to take him out of this game. And that is team number 15 on the placements established for this game.
Yeah, that
Liquid.
was super aggro from Noxious to actually take that fight, especially considering the entire Eastern Zone was clearly could have easily just taken the down and said, okay, we're going in with 3, he's dead, move on. But no, they want to take a fight against Liquid, and there's one thing that Liquid is good at, it is those early game fights, and I think that Noxious had the figured that out the hard way. We do see over here, though, Wilma getting in the Wizard Tower above Spet Gaming. This is a pretty decent spot, but hopefully Molme doesn't peek that compound too much. He does only have 1 firing port, and they have about 5 on him. It's not really something just a guy cannot shoot, but he will allow the rest of his squad at some point, if he decides to come over there and regroup with him.
The Milta area also being quite heavily contested throughout the course of this, such a widespread area more than anything else. Of course, that is close to the gas station on this east bridge too. As we're looking through the fields at this moment in time, we do have pretty open combat coming down as team number 6, Novus Ignis, one of our heavy contenders from Game 2, picking up 2nd place actually in Game 2, trying to find as much information as they can as this 4-man squad.
Yeah, very, very wide split with one player pretty far on the southeastern flank. Looks like Bootless grabbing the Dacia, just kind of backing up a little, saying, okay, you can't see me, I'm not going to fight you. Not fighting over, as Toffee's called it, the spine, this tall hill along to the map. They will be heading eastward. Makes sense, that's where some of the zone is. But that little cliffhead that I was talking about earlier is now occupied by House of Nobles. Sunbird and his teammate Bossman have grabbed it with a couple other squad members to the north of them. Looks like more and more teams are sort of finding spots that they feel comfortable, whether they be solos or duos or scouts with their squads. There are a couple of wide splits, but once again, in the farm area, most teams finding themselves a place they can sit.
Exactly, and with this shrink starting to establish itself, a roadmap for the rest of this game will be established shortly. Very even across the board, 14 teams still in play, and Harvu is trying to take resources away from whoever they can.
Yeah, this is a pretty constant part of this game. Once everyone finds themselves little compounds to hide in, at that point, keeping yourself busy, you're shooting out wheels of other players, you're trying to shoot out heads of other players as well. If you see those little helmets peeking out over cover, for that reason, it's so important to be, if you're peeking, make sure you're cognizant and win those aim battles, and hopefully your cars are safe as well. Because if you're on the west side, you are sure as heck gonna need him. You have to be cruising over about 2 kilometers to get to the new zone for some of these guys, especially for M19. FaZe, though, feeling amazing. They have a compound. They're dead center of the new zone. They're one of the only teams that can actually say that as well. They're taking a pretty good spot in this third circle going onward.
FaZe have definitely been playing to... I don't know what they've sacrificed or who they've prayed to, but they've been getting some very good circles throughout. Most of that, of course, has been off the back of the map play they have been putting forwards, just ensuring that no matter what happens, they will have as little distance to cover, no matter where the circle ends up, mitigating that luck factor. So House of Nobles here getting away very easily, but they're going to be running into FaZe.
Yeah, really good driving, but good driving doesn't prevent bullets. But looking at this, it looks like Alliance would make a big push. A lot of bloodshot on both sides. I think 60 with the last one's up, but he will be getting downed as well. I don't see anyone else from Alliance around the area at this point. And it looks like the surviving players of Pro 100 are trying to push into the small yellow building, just crawling inside. But that being said, to the west, Shapeshift Gaming did hear that Morzy and Essential coming in from the west side. More players as well crashing into the Milta town. Vitality as well as Team Wilma, that's 11 and 14, finding themselves the northern side for themselves. It's not quite set up though. It's just about whatever they could grab, they took.
Milta on the cards next as Team 11 and Team 4. That's going to be Team Vitality and Team Wilma, very close to one another on this northern side. Drop is coming down very shortly, so we'll have to see if anyone would like to contest for that. I don't think they're going to be running out into the open and gambling their lives for it at this moment in time, but
Yeah.
still, no real need to move either.
We do see the last member of Alliance, the survivor of that massacre from earlier. He was not a part of that, luckily, and will be allowing his team to not get 14th yet. The zone is still shrinking, though. We do have some more teams coming into Milta, so that could change at any point in time. Oh, and it's not even accessible. Look at that. It's on the roof. Definitely don't go for this one.
Bad, man. Oh.
No! It's another 249.
With a sniper rifle suppressor as well. That's pretty good, actually, considering it, especially where the suppressors do come in very handy. Mixie here taking some shots down onto a Vega squadron down to their southeast, able to already establish themselves some ground inside these fights.
Just sniping off the wheels of the burning UAZ, as if they are gonna get inside that anyway. Both these players are dead anyway. There's no one that can get in that UAZ. Oh. Just crossing the I's and dotting the T's. Yep.
You definitely said it. Keeping yourself busy. If there's something you can do, you might as well do it.
That's really the mentality that I noticed a lot of pro players going in here, just making sure they can make themselves useful at any point in time. Looking over here, though, that is exactly what Liquid's doing as they do spot out to the north side. Back from Zarki coming to the north. They do still have a 4-man. Liquid did lose a player earlier on, so they're definitely in the favor of Back from Zarki as far as numbers go, but Liquid having the initiative, getting a lot of shots out as well. But in this lumberyard area, kind of like Stalber, couple of hills, couple of trees, anything goes here as long as you can get a sick flank.
One member of Liquid trying to penetrate this team free back from Zaki Square at the second, and Ibiza having the best time of it, forced to prone himself out. The backup from Liquid is starting to come forward here. So Ibiza just has to stay quiet as he possibly can. Not taking the backpack off to reduce his model size just yet, but
yeah, there's 9 first aid kits have to go somewhere in his inventory. That's what he's got.
Oh my!
Check it out. Ooh.
Zenta getting tagged very hard by the Kobe coming forward, and this artillery barrage not taking too much of a toll just yet, but it does provide enough coverage for Ibiza to slowly snake away back to his team.
He's got some cover as well as Amty, as well as another Liquid player covering from behind. But look at that wide split. There's a lot to cover here and not a lot of guns to do it. As soon as Ibiza gets over that ridge, they're in full retreat, saying, we got to go. We have 40 seconds to find a new spot away from this 4-man. Let's find something that's different. But, oh, look at this bootless getting tagged. There's a laser light in the middle of the zone. It looks like he might have made it in. More and more players, though, trying to see if they can find themselves a new place to call home. Duelist not surviving. They will be phased. They realized from earlier that this compound is empty. They de-wheeled the UAZ previously as well, and it will be Jempty claiming the shed for himself. Once again, phased, using every single resource they have at their disposal.
Issue for FaZe at this moment in time is the split that they have put themselves into. Not by choice, just by the fact that they were caught out of position and they got themselves into an unfortunate gunfight here. Vitality have sustained one loss from the... No, sorry, that's Moldman being taken down by Vitality. So that is one member of Team Wilmer out of the game entirely, and Team 4, Team Wilmer, will be on the back foot from now on.
Yeah, on the south side and Milton, these guys probably won't be getting to too much action. They don't really have any reason to peek or push. There's too many factors in play. The big thing here is, especially right here, Novus Ignis. They're on the edge of the zone. There could be teams coming in from their west side. We actually do see on the minimap a player from Squad 13 that's Pro 100. Grishka Power, the survivor of the Alliance massacre over here, has decided to stay here, not going with his teammate Frank Ario. Looks like, though, the rest of FaZe going over here to this compound, to this little, I call it a compound, a shed with a UAZ in front of it that actually is blocking them from using the door. They have to climb through the window to get in. They will be claiming this and calling this home. With how much cover's around, I wouldn't call it that bad of a place to sit. Besides the body, ignore the body that's inside.
Oh, that's no problem at all. It may smell a little bit, but they'll get over it. It's a box now. It's all good. FaZe still sustaining their casualties very well and getting themselves a decent position with which
they haven't lost anything. They actually have a 2 split. Two of their guys on the center of the zone, 2 of their guys in a building on the northwest side. They're just saying, all right, let's get the good combo and let's split. This is why not? The north side, though, I'm looking at a lot of players retreating in from the zone. We already see back from Zarki as well as the guys on M19 at Squad 5, and now Spet Gaming coming in soon, too. Back from Zarki already ready for this engagement.
Starting to mount the push. A couple of shots are going to be landing, giving Dave the Crazy the opportunity to re-peak as Spet Gaming make their retreat. Moving around to the north side, they're going to be running into Team 5, M19 now, as Ferix is just running for his life, going as fast as he can, but he's not fast enough, as the clothesline of bullets is going to be taking him down, and Daix will be the one to claim that kill. Pixon does go down, traded out for the Wanderer 74. Example coming around the side as well, just trying to finish anything he can off, running into Ival on the outskirts of that compound. Pierre will be next in line, so if Example does take the re-peak, he will be peeking into 2, almost certain death.
Yeah, little does Spet Gaming know that they're actually walking into a full new squad. It looks like Evil having the 249 is going to be a pretty good thing right here. But FaZe actually, I think, is stealing that kill on the northern side. Looks like Spet Gaming somehow managing to actually survive that encounter. But that being said, back from Zarky did hear all that go down. Might be able to make something happen here. Down in Milta, though, still a little bit of these buildings are in. Havu controls them. Vitality as well as Squad 4, and that's Team Wilma, and a couple of the solos on the southern side will all be pushing into Havu. Meanwhile, Nova Cygnus making their push with some UAZs.
Nova Cygnus staying in the game very late once again, but they're moving towards the FaZe. Shaq at this moment in time.
Oh, they're so pinched.
Not going to be going anywhere for them as they're pulled out of the vehicles, and the Lin, the only remaining player standing at this moment in time. Blade Buyer bleeding out very quickly. The Lin taken out of the game as Fuzzface is going to be making them take 13th place on the day.
2 in the high ground, 2 in the lower ground. A wonderful pinch from one squad. We usually talk about pinch from 2 squads. Looks like Pierre, though, scar in his hands, crossbow on his back. We'll have the zone against him. Look at that pinch. Look at that damage as well. He will survive as far as blue tanking goes, but as soon as he walks in, damage coming out. Back from Zarky, finishing them off, but FaZe hearing the shots, spotting them out, trying to get some shots. There are 2 players here. They will be able to get 1 down off of that. Looks like 3 players trying to avoid this gunfire, but just hitting shot after shot. Nexeti and Mixie, this marksman to be contended with.
Axete getting some beautiful shots in with the M16 4x scope, able to push that down onto the top of that hill, securing themselves at least a 10th place position, plus securing quite a few kills off the back of other people's plays. Exactly. No matter what the situation, they have a plan in place.
Oh, man, they really do. It looks like, speaking of plans, a couple of guys have been able to make it into Milta, surviving barely the new zone. Looks like Alliance, though, surviving the previous massacre, might be in the beginning of a new one. He's not quite in the zone. It is going to be on his back as he moves in here, going for some corner-kicking play. He's a solo player. He's going to be very sneaky here. Looks like a couple of explosions going off around him means that someone is at least marginally aware of his presence. Yep, I don't really mind taking some shots at him. Barely, nope, does not get in. And Silencio having the angle on top of a shed, gunning him down. But do they know that Team Wilma is right here?
Trying not to make any noise as Havu still moving out too. They're going to be going to the south side of the current circle, just on the outskirts of Milta. Lots of field. Very open field at that is still inside the game.
And that's the zone.
Circle is just going to give us lots of field.
As well as the one shed. And that one shed, FaZe has it. Vitality sees it and is trying to do something about it, but there's so many UAZs that have crashed coming at some point that FaZe can use as cover. Vitality just has... it's just too much for Shift to peek. And actually, as running away, getting shot in the back, will not be walking away from this. Will be crawling away, having to get his teammate to come help revive here.
Have to consider each and every time a player is knocked out, just simple things. Each and every knockout makes you bleed out faster the next time around. Vitality will still be taking an L inside that column as FaZe making their move over next. So Mixie and Axete now, they do have a small ridge available to them, but the gunfire is coming in. Axete will blow up that vehicle, making sure that nobody's going to do it for them. DP28, very good at dispatching the damage.
Oh, yeah. It looks like they were trying to make themselves a bit of cover on this ridge. Ridge covering their north to south, UAZ covering that Milta side flank. Looks like it's not quite as nice and neat as they would have liked, but it's still more than good enough for FaZe. They're trying to peek, they're trying to get some pressure onto these guys that do have to leave Milta right now, by the way. But it looks like right now, no downs coming yet. Vitality, the 3-man, though, have an open field to contend with, as well as 2 squads that can see them from their current location.
Odds definitely not in their favor here as Shadow just taking these peeks. Lots of hard peeks coming through. He's not faking anything on this one either, as he's just trying to back up his raw aim. All of that mechanical prowess going forward onto Havu. And Solenso does walk a little bit further out, but Shadow not able to hit all of those shots at this moment. Running through the smokers when he gets tagged, and now outside, he's got no chance taken down onto the ground. They do have themselves a small ridge for cover, and it looks like Shadow will be able to crawl over into this direction. Fuzzface does pick up another down into this game as Liquid sustained 1 casualty from I'm a Menace. Havu still trying to look for all of the situations where these gunfights are coming from. Trying to get all of the knowledge. There's one Jorski going to be able to take one out of the fight. Beautiful flick, beautiful peek, and excellent execution.
The rate of those shots was absolutely insane coming from Jorski. I've heard people prefer the M16, but now I've seen firsthand why. You can't stay there anymore, though, but neither can Yun coming out from the left. Jorski sees him, but Havu will be gunning him down. A little bit of team play coming from Havu. They do have a couple of these short walls, as well as the shed to work with. It might be flankable from their east side. I do see a name off in the distance over there. Liquid Scoom. Looks like Blue taking outside the zone there. Oh, yeah, he's going for real Blue taking strikes. He's not getting in.
Yeah. Havu have been definitely surprising me this entire evening, to be honest. They've been coming up quite often, sometimes not having the best situations in their favor. They are going to be inside another top 3 scenario alongside Vitality and FaZe. The big boys are really coming out here.
Vitality's in a lot of trouble there between 2 full squads. Look at that, 11 alive. Strider holding this prone, peeking up, seeing Alencio getting the down, but now there's a full squad to back up that player. Well, Vitality is split, having to contend with 2 squads at once, with Shadow going down, no one covering that southern flank. We see Monkey here, he's holding here, but right behind him, his teammate going down from FaZe. This is so bad for Vitality. The last player going down, FaZe taking control of this ridge, but having it from the south side. They have a rebound there to get, well, FaZe losing no one is free to go around, loot up, as well as look for the last players. They spot Havu. This is really bad for Havu.
Couldn't take the shots either, otherwise he would have killed his downed teammate. FaZe using that as their own advantage. Havu sustaining 2 casualties off the head of this. Fuzzface will be putting the nades through. Once again, FaZe, they smelt blood. They're going to be chasing this very, very soon, and they're going to be running up on Havu on this outside circle. Jorski still downed. Jempty just peeking over the top of this hill, not realizing everybody's over to his right as the moves have started to come through. Haxetti not able to hit any of those shots at this moment in time, but that's going to be some beautiful work for the repeak from Bikini Model, taking Haxete down to the floor with the DP28. Excellent work as Bikini Model now using this as an opportunity to move his own position. Haxete will be pulled back up, leaving them as a 4-man squad. 4 versus 2 now as FaZe inching ever closer to victory. Bikini Model using this rock, trying to peek. Soft peek does come down. Able to get some information, but not able to contest anything just yet. There's the real peak coming through as Haxete dropped dangerously low.
Oh, FaZe is going for a flank. FaZe going for a flank on the north side. Looks like that I don't really mind cannot spot this. Jempty over here being the lead man, spots the rock, stopping him up for a second. They don't suspect a thing. A big amount of damage coming on Bikini Model. Not spotting, I don't really mind yet. Bikini Model clearly running cover. Haxetti getting it from the right side. There's just one Bush boy left. I don't really mind getting shots on a Fuzzy's face. He's just blindly firing, finishing off the down. I don't really mind, can't see him. FaZe taking that game. First place with a beautiful flank to finish Havu off.
Incredible work from FaZe there. Excellent. Once again, a full 4-man squad is going to be taking the victory. The level of execution is huge here this evening. And as you said, just look at that bloody kill count.
That's 19 kills for them. And they were not playing passive either. You saw they were going for they're controlling 2 combos at once. They're always on their feet every circle. I have never seen a team like this. I could talk about it for hours, but I will let our desk do that instead. Don't go anywhere. More PUBG coming to you soon. Desk for now, though. See you guys soon.
Thank you very much, Dudge and Seal. Game number 3 now ends, and FaZe wins the Milta zone. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, take it away, please, Cameron. Go.
Shocking.
It's a little bit of a surprise if you're gonna go open it up like that, just because Vitality are actually the team in Milta itself. Makes sense why they had the best building in Milta. It makes perfect sense that they would know that garage building is the best building. It's just kind of unfortunate the last second their rotation out of it, but that's a good defensive building. FaZe throughout the entirety of that zone, third on, had the center circle. They had the best spot. They were employing different levels of splits throughout the entirety of that game, gathered so much control. That's one of the major reasons why they got 19 kills that game. Came together at the perfect moment too, because we've seen a couple of times that a team has a 2-2 split, but they keep on it for just a little bit too long and they end up throwing away their potential victory because of it. They knew the exact time to group up with it. A difficult spot to group up with as well. However, just because it is in the middle of a field and a tiny little hut, the door frame can be a little bit of a choke, especially when, well, there's a car blocking it. But nonetheless, FaZe just playing that basically textbook.
Absolutely. And I correct me if I'm wrong. Did I see Gemty go to the shack and then turn around and go back to pick somebody up and then go back to the shack? Or am I crazy?
I don't know how they keep getting away with this stuff. I really don't. They had a 2-1-1 split, and then they have a guy to transition to the shack, drives across the wide open field in full view of a 4-man Havu, a 4-man Alliance, and then they get away with it. I just don't it's
you know crazy. What that is? Crazy. You know what that is? That's knowing the terrain. That's what that is. That is taking the routes that you are familiar with and saying, okay, we know Vitality's up in that building. Well, we got a little bit of a dip here that we can go this way, 10 meters right instead of left there can save lives when it comes to your team. And then we saw a push come out of them when they hopped in the UAZ and kind of pushed towards Vitality before the Vitality. That's because they know. And once again, knowing the terrain, they know that ridge is there, and they know that if Vitality gets that ridge, that's a huge threat. If they can get out of the building and get over there. And this is where, right there, if Vitality could have gotten out and pushed up to that, it could have been an issue for FaZe. That's why they opted taking it for themselves, putting more pressure on Vitality. Vitality ending up in third. And, it happens time and time again. FaZe and Vitality, if it's down in Milta, they're going to place well. That's just what it is. I don't know. I've never seen them falter when it comes to a home field zone here. The shots coming out from Shadow onto Encelenso. And this is a lot of pressure that Havu was putting out. Unfortunately, they were in the worst position just in the zone. Not their fault at all, just the way the circles went. It's very hard moving on the eastern side of Milta to the north.
Yeah.
So Vitality was in a little bit of a better spot there. And then,
you did get a field ending, though.
Yeah, hey, I'm happy, all right? We went down to military. It was it scares me, and I feel bad for everybody. And then, we went up to Stalber Ruins, and I was like, oh, God, not like this, and it was just brutal.
This is a really good push by a Bikini Model, though. And I know Seal mentioned it a little bit, or it might have been Douche, but Havu's just been playing really, really well tonight, and it's you almost want to say it's a shame that they're in the lobby with FaZe and Vitality and Liquid, because I think that had Havu played yesterday in yesterday's lobby, they might come in first every single game. I mean, they're playing so well. They're getting so far into game in late game with all 4 players remaining. Their positioning is solid. They're taking the right fights. They're landing their shots, and it just seems like every time now they just keep running into one of these juggernaut squads, and that's kind of holding them back a little bit. But they are still getting the kills. They are still getting the placement points, so that is going to bode well for them making it into the top 16. I think there's no doubt at this point that they make top 16.
Yeah, what are they right now? They're currently 13.
13.
Probably going to climb up a little bit after this because they have, I don't know if they got game 1, but
it's
game 2,
a sixth, a third, and a second today for Havu so far. I mean, that's a great day so far. And I've talked about Havu a few times. I told you guys beforehand, I was like, there's something about Havu, man. Just watch Havu. The way they rotate like no one else. It's like, I don't know what it is, but every time I'm watching them move into zone, regardless of where the zone is, I feel like they are making the decisions that I would want them to make. on the trip there. Like, okay, they're rotating, they're taking their time because it's a northeast zone. They have a prim zone. They're pushing center as fast as possible because they know they can beat people there. You know, anything like that, they're playing their zones so well. And I think Havu is the team that gets overlooked because they don't have these huge, 20-kill wins all the time. But they are a very consistent team that moves very, very well throughout the map. And I think it's going to pay off when you get into that top 16. And we move into Split 2, which, of course, in case anybody in chat doesn't know, this is Split 1. Each team is playing 20 games. The top 16 out of the 40, the top 16 will move into Showdown Series for Split number 2, which means 16 teams in the lobby. You play the same other 15 teams in another best of 20. And the winning teams will get their share of a $20,000 prize pool. Split 1 having a $5,000 prize pool. So it's pretty intense to try and get in, especially if you're a team like Havu. You're sitting at 13th based on points per game average, but they're playing really well, especially here in the second half. It's been a great day for them, and I'm very happy with their performance based on how they've been playing.
I think when you talk about teams like Havu and talk about any team really, it's all a question of progression, right? It's the things that you work on in the progression of your growth as a team, right? And so right now Havu is basically getting to that point where they've got everything locked down as far as their transitions, their communications. They've been playing together long enough to where they know each other well enough to where they trust each other, and they follow the calls that are made without hesitation. Their shots are starting to land. Now, the only place for them to progress now is to the point where teams like FaZe are, or teams like Vitality, where you start saying, okay, well, now let's transition into places that may not be as good that are good for placement, but are also good for picking up kills, right? And I think that's where FaZe is right now, and that's kind of like that top tier where you can kind of take these areas where you can really rack up kill points on top of your placement points. And it's good to see that more teams are starting to challenge FaZe in that regard. I think Liquid's getting there as well. Vitality, they've been a little bit shaky. They've been having to recover on their transition game, but I'm seeing some really good stuff from them today. So it looks like they might have righted the ship as far as that goes, and that's good news for EU as a scene in general. Just that these teams that you're expecting to perform well are actually doing so.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes to Liquid, there's something about chat with the spam this pizza for Ibiza right now that's been going on. And, they had a tough first game. The spam has just been out of control, and now a fifth, a fourth. So they're getting, those top 5 finishes. We talked about 3 teams for the day, and it was Vitality, FaZe, and Liquid. Liquid, the only one out of those 3, hasn't grabbed a win yet today. I wouldn't be surprised to see them perform well again here in game number 4. Contest for a win for sure. And there's just something about Liquid, man. They are exactly what Poro just said, where they're making that turn into, it's not about survival. For a lot of these teams, it's about survival. All right, we need to just survive to a top 5. We need to survive to a top 5. And that's a win for them. But for a lot of these squads, those top tier, the FaZes, the Vitalities, and now the Liquids, it's not let's get a top 5. It's like, let's get a top 5. Let's get 15 kills. Let's get to a nice location. Let's put out the shots. Let's put out the damage. Let's rack up the points here and play an offensive game. And I think that's very important.
It's interesting to compare actually Liquid versus FaZe, because what FaZe do, they will lie in wait until they see the opportunity to come in and pounce. The opportunity is open for them, and they will grab it, and then from that point on, they'll take over the game, which could happen in the mid game, such as in this game. This is a perfect example of that. But most of the time, it actually happens late game, just because they rarely get a circle that they have minimal transition on. Obviously, coming from Milton Power, they have to transition late into most of the areas of the map, which is why you won't see them kind of like show up and really start to take over until you hit the late game. Which is why often, like sometimes when they win, they don't necessarily have as high of kill counts as here, even though they do take it over. It's just like late on. Liquid though, when they decide to take over a game, they will take it over from the mid game on. You saw this at Star Ladder actually, when they got those 4 games in a row, 5 if you include the third person show match in a row. That like from the mid game on, they kind of just. I mean, hey, they don't either. When they come in from the mid game and they say, let's put as much pressure radiating out onto the rest of the map as possible, and we're not waiting for a moment. We're going to create our own moment. sometimes that does backfire. You saw how, well, game one is a little bit of an anomaly because they got a little screwed over on multiple occasions on things that they couldn't control. But other games, you can see that they go out a little early. But when that doesn't happen, they can absolutely just blow up and take over an entire game. And so it's a little interesting to compare those two teams in that aspect.
I think almost a more accurate comparison to Liquid to where they're at right now almost might be Method before the departure of Leighton, where they were just going out and seeking out kills and just dominating a game in that way. It's kind of very similar play styles. I think Liquid is a little bit Liquid's a little bit better at it than Method was, even at their height, because Method would oftentimes get caught out early in weird transitions, and it was a very kind of feast or famine. But
well, you need to know when to how to temper it. You got to have a good shot caller behind it, and that's not to say that every team needs to have good transitions. And so, but if you're able to utilize those transitions to put yourself in a really good spot to then take over, so you got to have a good balance of shot calling as well as firepower. But yeah, I do actually see that comparison, more direct parallel between Method and Liquid.
And it's also a question of where you're transitioning from, right? So Yasnaya versus Pachinki versus Milta and Circle. So yeah, it's all the million things you have to consider, so where you can't.
The 4,000 little tiny things that could change the game. All right, guys. So here we are. Game 3 just ended. We're about to hop into game number 4. Havu 6th, 3rd, 2nd. Vitality a 1st, a 15th, and a 3rd. Alliance an 8th, a 1st, and a 9th. And then FaZe a 5, a 4, and a 1. What team takes the day home? Poro.
Takes the day home? Oh,
yes.
You can't pick against FaZe.
Okay. Cameron?
Especially coming off a 19 kills.
Yeah, FaZe win the whole day, but I think Liquid's going to win this 4th game, just to round it out.
Interesting. I like the opinions. I like it, just spread out the wins a little bit. It is now time, though, for our final game of the day. Who will come out on top? We will find out very, very shortly. So let's kick it right into game number 4 with Dudge and a little Fuzzy Seal.
Thank you guys once again for the last time of this evening as we are here for the 4th and final game to close out our games of this evening. And my goodness, have we had some of the most action-packed games throughout this entire season. This has been nuts. And to start this game off, we're having another one of those fairly even planes, giving these teams plenty of access to wherever they want to go. But over to you, Seal. Who do you think is going to take this game home?
FaZe. Yeah, they're pretty good for a lot of reasons. I was thinking about during the break just all the reasons why what they do is so smart, and it's just so hard to discount all of that stuff. It's insane what they're doing. It's always so fun to see what they do in the late game there.
Exactly, and taking a look at just how they're rotating and just what they're muscling in for as well. It's absolutely incredible. Not only are they keeping teams out of the area, they are just pushing everyone so far away from them, putting up this huge wall and saying you're not coming anywhere near, and proving that you can't go anywhere near by killing anyone who tries.
Oh yeah, but like you said, pretty balanced fight plan. It's looking like most people going pretty much exactly where they want. All the big locations are grabbed. Milta Power, Novo, military base, Georgia Pool once again, still having 2 people on it though. And consistently we are seeing M19 at Squad 5 drop on the eastern side, which means they have less options, right? The ball is entirely in Novus Ignis's court. Do you want to take a fight and push east? Do you want to keep looting and go west? I don't know. It's up to you. But either way, M19, all they can do is react to this because they only have that one little set of buildings to loot. And whatever the zone is probably dictates whatever Novus Ignis does. And with what we're seeing right now, we are going to have Novus Ignis even having more time to loot if they do so desire. This northwest zone being what it is.
We don't often see teams start to contest these areas, and usually when we do, it's areas around like Pachinki, things like that, North George and South George, not usually open for interpretation. So I think it was, I remember Method, they always used to go to Pachinki, And there was one team who, for 2 weeks in a row, continued to contest them.
I remember
throughout
that.
every single game. I cannot remember for the life of me who it was at this moment in time, but these games were always so different because teams were coming out with casualties, or at the very least, they had taken damage to their early game armor, or had to use their valuable med supplies very early on.
It was a really destructive game of chicken that at this point, these leagues are so interesting to compare the leagues to just like sort of like one-off tournament games. But the interesting thing about the PUBG Online split is that because we are rotating teams every week, players can't get comfortable just saying like, okay, we always do X every game. No one will contest us if we do this because everyone knows that we do it. The only team that can really get away with that is FaZe. Everywhere else, good luck, because the group we play with on one week might not be the same one as the next. So Pachinki might be your hunting grounds, but if you say, I'm just gonna make up a team name here. Let's say Samsung S4 phone case. That's what I have on my desk right now. It's an empty phone case. Let's say they like drop in Pachinki too. All of a sudden, they have a team contesting you, and so just from week to week, these guys will have to be quick on their feet, making sure that from game to game, they don't have to change up their strategies.
For sure, and getting that early game or just the pre-game preparation coming through. There are 3 areas on the map which we don't usually see contested when certain teams are in the game. And can we guess exactly who those teams are? Vitality, Liquid, and FaZe. They get whatever they want. And no, I don't think I've ever seen anybody stay away from Milta so heavily as when FaZe are in the game. All 4 games so far this evening, no contest for them or Vitality. Liquid are proving to be an exception because during games 1 and 2, they had the contest around Yasnaya.
It was funny. That was Noxious that did it both games, and I think at game 3, after Liquid just wiped the floor with them, Noxious is like, okay, let's step back. Liquid got their revenge. Let's do something else. At this point, it looks like that they will be getting the Lipovka prison split, so a lot of loot for them. They're finally out contested. Liquid as well getting their own Yasnaya, but after we are now at 2 points before the shrink, we need a couple of people going out looking for places to call home. Luma taking a couple shots at Alliance Middleware's vehicle for that reason. He's currently scouting for his team from Novo, seeing if he can't find him a place. Good thing they sent out this early guy so early, because if they waited later, then they would definitely be left playing edge. And with the zone we got here, there's a couple of really strong compounds that if you're quick enough, you could grab them and be in luck.
Options are abound here because considering we had the 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock plane coming through to start this game off, that does suggest that East Bridge could be being camped at the moment in time.
Yeah.
So these teams on the Sosnovka Island will have to see how they choose to make their approach onto the mainland of Erangel here. Metal, he's not liking any fences today, but he is going to be enjoying these hills now. He's starting to make his move out and moving towards the school area.
I'm wondering if a couple of these places are occupied or not. It looks like these 2 compounds in particular are not. So Alliance in general and Meador in particular will be in luck, but it looks like he wants some more. Still driving. Looks like he might have found a new place, but the place he's gunning for, which I'm looking at, Crab 1K and Frank Aria are currently in. That's one of the better spots in the map. Probably one of the best. Got a couple of yellows on it. You can kind of move away from it. It's also dead center. A little bit of loot as well if you don't have any yet. Good spot to be. Hopefully isn't going for that. But meanwhile, over here on the northwest side, we're seeing Bootless going away, avoiding the shots of Elite Player. And once again, another scout from the Northern Georgia squad.
Teams who had got themselves a nice little bit of circle luck, thanking their lucky stars, possibly putting a nice little bit of the tributation to that for whichever sacrifices they gave to the circle gods, are going to be enjoying themselves an extra bit of looting time. Especially in the pro scene, loot is something which we have to consider to be incredibly different to the standard games we're playing when we load up our own game. Of course,
if you have a bad early game, then in these comp games, if you have a bad early game, then you can just kiss your hopes of taking a straight up fight goodbye.
And you have to do it so quickly as well. You don't have any time at the beginning of the game to loot. The quicker you are at looting, the quicker you are to get into a better position. And that is how our AK Scar?
Scar KM, AKL. Yeah, he took a couple of shots at some players that were getting into that compound, but luckily not taking that. I think I didn't see a vest on him, a level 1 helmet, and 1v2 with those conditions, not good at all. That will be Novus Ignis grabbing one of the most centered up and defendable compounds in the game right now. Good scouting from them. Their teammates in Northern Georgia will be very happy to have a place that they can go to and call home. It should be a pretty safe transition for them as long as they avoid M19. Those guys on Squad 9.
Many of our teams have made their rotation through now. FaZe a little bit late on that one, entering via the southeast. We're seeing Team 2 Vega Squadron currently just transcending these hills and finding themselves a
Transcending?
Nice... Yeah, I don't know what I was going for there.
They're not playing Overwatch. They're playing Zenyatta right here.
That's exactly it. They're just going to chuck balls at people.
Well, what are bullets besides just, small pointed balls?
Was that a Zenyatta quote? But as we see it,
not quite Zen enough.
Team 7, the House of Nobles, they are just going to be scouting their own areas, making sure that they are clear from every angle at this moment in time. Once again, if we could just quickly pull up the map, take a look at just how these teams are moving in. You can see Liquid staying a little bit late. Rixnas and Kavorka from Team 15, Team Noxious, making their move also from the east side. If they're not careful enough, they will run into Liquid, who are starting to find themselves a place of their own at this point.
Yeah, I'm looking around. It looks like a lot of, actually, every single possible area in the sort of southwestern school compound split has been taken. We're even seeing these ridges to the north taken by back from Zarki. We don't usually see this spot taken so early on, but it will be getting some damage on XA, causing him to get a little bit of a road bump there. But a lot of fire being taken back from Zarki, having forced to pull down as from the south team was spotting them out. And there's only 2 members here from back from Zarki. This could be dangerous if they're pushed.
Surrounded from 2 angles here, and FaZe Clan have been able to recover from this James in a power position, but not for too much longer. Oh, Hexete will be the person to be taken down, as Team Wilmer's Moleman is able to land a few very well-placed shots. James forced to get out of dodge as quickly as possible. He will have the cover of the houses now, so he should be in a safe position going forward. Currently, FaZe
super risky.
Back from Zarki, Shapeshift Gaming, and Team Wilmer all in very close proximity to one another, and it looks like Mori Z will be going for the drive.
Oh, super lucky for Mori Z that back from Zarki is on that ridge, letting them get a little bit of the flak, making that crossing actually safe. Meanwhile, the survivors from back from Zarki looks like they're having a lot of trouble here. Very little armor. I think I saw an afro there previously from Dave the Crazy. Fawn as well. They're receiving so much fire from their northern, like the elevation, a little bit too much. Both of them going down. They were not quite in cover from that higher ground, and now 2 members again going down in the early game. Last 2 players that are currently up in school, it looks like, are probably not going to be able or willing to get them up. That's a horrible spot to push in too late.
Trying to catch FaZe out of position and just ending up being caught with their trousers down on this one. Difficult position for them to play from now. Alliance moving in to the same area. This is such a convoluted area at this moment in time, as Alliance and Team Wilmer will be fighting over their own position, whilst we're still having back from Zarki under fire to the slight north of Team Wilmer.
It looks like we actually saw back from Zarki going to get those revives in the minimap. I think I saw a player drive in. Yeah, they're trying to save their down teammates, or at least Dave the Crazy. I think that one of them getting downed earlier did cause him to bleed out before he could get help. But Zenta driving over here, getting Dave up. This is really, really a smart play here. They know that he's in good cover. He just wasn't in the exact right spot. So Zenta pulling up here, getting that revive, at least hitting one of their 2 players. Hopefully they'll be safe here. Last I checked, Dave the Crazy was a little bit lacking on armor.
For sure, and of course that armor will be harder and harder to come by the later we go on into this game. That could be quite the deficit for back from Zarki. Gonna try and take some shots down onto FaZe. Raffi not able to finish that shot off, and taking a look on our screen at the second team, Wilmer. Fairly a roster comprised of members that we all know the names of. Moleman, of course, being an ex-member of Liquid. Stoff is also on the roster at some points as well. Still a very competent team coming forward.
New zone is up. A little bit of that north is still in. It could be a big upset and flip over there. Meanwhile, FaZe already going to that 3-story atop of the Rozhok area. Beautiful spot for them to be going. Liquid as well holding the water tower. The first 2 areas claimed are pretty aggressive holds, trying to prevent people from coming in here. Even Ibiza, is he actually claiming this eastern side as well? Going for a very wide split, controlling as much area as they can.
And trying to find as much space for themselves to work with as well. If they have the clearance, if they have the space, and if they are able to just get these sight lines established for themselves, they can put themselves in a great position. This compound, just on the east side of Rozhok, should hopefully secure such a situation for them. Dave the Crazy, we see him on his motorcycle, still being a little bit crazy. Back from Zaki. Moving into the school area, a little bit more closed down there, but a very central position on the map currently as Diex trying to put some shots down from the pool area.
Almost got that down there, looked like at that range. But over here with 40 seconds left before the next shrink, that is a significant area for teams to have to move in through. And with this particular spot, not a lot of cover, that southwest side providing very, very little in terms of geographical cover or concealment. So these guys are driving and walking through, well, they're gonna have it happen to some, it happened to them as well with this car going up in flames. Meanwhile, M19 making their movement through between these valleys, trying to find a safe spot to go for it. Elite player making some sick jumps here. Wander with that dossier, though, not quite pleasantly suited here for this. But looks like M19 taking the spot that back from Zorky was in. If they look close at the ground here, they'll probably see a little bit of blood here and there.
This is a very strong position. Let's not make any lies on that one. Taking a look at it, though, they are so close to other teams. They just do not have the space to work with. These compounds, they don't necessarily overlook the area that M19 have put themselves into, and they will have plenty of coverage from the small hills and the lips that surround them too. But where can they move? Where can they go next? They don't have anywhere to consider as their home now.
They're going to need to keep their cars safe, and then they're going to need to drive across this field. That's pretty much the only situation. At the very least, they found a place that they can play. That's the really important part there. They will also as well be as alongside Vegas Squad and be able to get a lot of shots on passing cars. I think we saw Smoking Dossier almost get finished off. So yeah, Frank Archer actually getting finished off by 54th, finishing off his Smoking UAZ. Well, over here in the west, it looks like Pro 100 trying to take out more EZ here.
Just have to see how this one unfolds. 2 teams coming very close to one another. Team 12 and 13. Pro 100 and Shapeshift Gaming, Mori Z, not knowing what he's going to be jumping into, and he does get the initial down. Excellent spray control coming through. Still has more players to contend with, though. He's going to be going straight into Wonder. Second down comes through. Grishka Power will be overpowering him on this occasion.
Almost
so close to a
the 1v3, man. Yeah, that would have been really, really sick to see that. They will be able to stabilize off of this, though. Looks like they are reviving Crab, who I believe is building it slower than Arkway. Arkway waiting patiently for his turn. So it's like, please revive me. I'm crawling up to you. Just be nice and safe about it. I also have the accent that's a little bit overdone at this point. But looking at the zone, we do see Bathrooms in control of the school, which currently is centered. This crate over here on the eastern side having a M24 as well as a suppressor. I don't think this crate's even going to see the light of day at this point. It's so close to the edge. Maybe Havu will find it. But at this point, teams are a little bit more concerned with fighting over the Rozhok area.
Strange to see that many of our teams have taken a central position this time around. We usually see many more teams on the outside of the circle and starting to edge their way in. This time, however, teams have just gone really all in on the central strategy, and it has paid off for those towards the south center of it.
It's paid off a little bit. FaZe not feeling great with their spot, but feeling even worse or any squad to the north of Rozhok across this river. They have a long way to go. And judging by the zone, not many people thought this would happen. The south side, very clear. Havu already moving in. Glad that showed up for them. Meanwhile, as well, Novus Ignis, they're one of the ones alongside Spet Gaming. You see on that ridge over there. They're in a very bad spot, getting out and moving right away. Spet Gaming not taking shots, letting Novus Ignis go in first and saying, okay, if they don't get shot at, we're going to follow right behind them.
That could give other teams clear entry to take shots at them. If they do decide to play gatekeepers as they enter from the other side of this bridge, we'll have to see what happens, though, as they will be coming over towards Budget Venice, And it looks like they will be taking a couple of shots as they do make their own passing across Shapeshift Gaming. Shapeshift will, of course, have to move at some point soon, and I'm a Menace is just proving true to his name, putting down as much pepper spray fire as he can down onto Liquid. FaZe have got their own position in now. They've rotated over to the southern side of Rozhok, and they've done that early. They will be safe for another few moments.
Yeah, looking around, like a lot of our teams making early movements, not letting the zone push them in. When you're centered up like that, you kind of do have to be a little bit more proactive rather than riding the zone. And a lot of teams are playing in a way that well, suits that, and it makes them not die in the early game, so that's pretty good. A lot of players, looking at Liquid Bees in particular, kind of caught out, though. It looks like he was not able to actually join his team on their vehicle-bound transition eastward, and is pretty much going to be left as a solo. Maybe trying to sneak past Shapeshift Gaming there.
Sneaky Beaky coming in on the northeast side of the next circle. We're going to be seeing Team 15, Team Noxious. A team which keeps coming off of our lips because these guys are just playing very disruptive for the entire evening. Liquid employing a very split strategy once again. Vitality down on the southeast could be playing spoiler to this as they are very close.
Looks like the Lin has rolled up to the wrong city. He is getting gunned down by 2 members of FaZe. Not getting the vehicle in time, getting gunned down as well. Bootless pulling up, it might have tried to assist, but it is a little bit too late for that, my friend. Getting spotted out, almost losing the battle against Mixie, but FaZe doesn't have a real reason to peek this, but looking around at that minimap just over this hill, it looks like Novus Ignis has bitten off another full squad Vega squadron, ready to gun them down as soon as they crest a frag, already getting blade buyer here.
Effectively 2 players left alive here from Novus Ignis as they're going to have to regroup themselves despite being on different sides of this. Pretty hard to...
Yeah... Yeah, this is really rough for Novus. The way that they use their cars makes them kind of all in on this strat as well. They can't really go back around the way they came. There's a lot of squads that can see their current spot. There's even one behind them to the west. They kind of just got to keep their head down and hope this all blows over. But as it is, with these, how close these squads are, no one can disengage here safely.
I don't think anybody's in a really safe position. Of course, we have the full god view of this map at the moment in time, so... When we do take a look at it, we can see that there's a huge area of the map that's not being utilized by anyone currently. That's in the center south. And with that, all of our teams... lots of our teams will be moving center south.
Yep, and we just roll up and the camera doesn't have to see Spat Gaming getting their butts handed them by Vitality. The zone inside of them, as well as an entire 4-man, all versus Pixon, I believe, who's just the last one up there. Looking around, though, there's a lot of color outside the white. Nabiza, one of the players, looks like he's in an aim battle 1v1 versus Arizona. The company has been left and abandoned by everyone except for these 2 players. Arizona not too keen on taking this fight. Looks like he's just sitting here camping this garage building Ibiza, though. You got some knocks. He's going to take the push in this 1v1.
Oh, Ibiza wants this, and he's going to be pushing forward, already forcing the retreat out of Arizona. That's Ibiza with the staircase now. Still moving up. This guy is a madman. The repeat does come down, but he's going to be taken down almost immediately. Incredibly quick trigger finger there from Ibiza. It looks like the chat spam has indeed helped him out, but it hasn't done any favors for Scoom, who's going to be taken down by Crispia on the outside of the circle now. The rest of our teams are starting to pull up, and they have exactly what they need. Some vehicles and some meds to move themselves forward. However,
Vitality on this hilltop, one of the many teams that are contesting teams, leading the death of many players like that Liquid fellow that try to make their way in. Looking at these apartments on the northern edge, they have a pretty big job ahead of them, as well as Vanity and Botsman are pretty much about as northeast gets, the most apartment building. I'm a menace, though. His squad mate earlier died from Ibiza, so he's looking over there. He's waiting to get revenge as soon as Ibiza walks out. A big open field, and as well as the Rifled Menace is there waiting. But first, a lot of other players moving into the white.
Whoa! Without teams, that was so. Oh, the backflip coming through.
Just looks away.
My goodness, he's on the top of the road, and well, his car's going to be on fire, and yeah, it's not really going to be doing him any favors as Moleman is the one to secure himself that kill. Now, teams on the northwest side, as we currently are overlooking, having quite the difficulty to move in. Team 5 will have to move through quite a lot of gunfire to secure M19, a better place than 13.
Looks like he's just sneaking his way in. The rest of these guys are on Team Wilma. He is alone here. The rest of his teammates coming in on the northern side. It's going to be pretty hard for this little player to help his team, especially with Raffi and Molman being where they are. That being said, the wide split of Wilma means that 5 does have a relatively fair 2v2 split. Vitality, though, them and Habu are in a great spot for this game. Relatively isolated sides of the zone. They've eliminated a lot of their opposition as well. And for Habu in particular, they have a great spot on the high ground for themselves going later into this game.
Exactly. Vitality having themselves a nice position on the east side, not too heavily contested by Noxious, who are just a couple of 100 meters north of them at this moment in time.
Yeah, they're a bit busy just hiding in their smoke shed.
These hills will be quite favorable for Vitality as well, and yeah, this smoke shed is quite something.
Yeah, people got preferences. Looking around, though, it looks like FaZe with one player up outside the zone. They have all died individually on their transitions previously. Kavorka, though, putting up a bit of a fight, but with only one small window to peek out of, we're just seeing these heads pin off the helmets of every single one of these players. One already missing, the other one damaged, as we just saw in that little shot right there. It's going to be very hard for Noxious to move out, which they will have to do right into the full squad of Vitality.
It's going to be a difficult ask for these guys as well. They're also going to have to run through Team 7, House of Nobles. Difficult push to come out of those as well. Now, moving forward, Team 7, once again, the House of Nobles, going to push early so they get themselves into the circle. That will be securing themselves a good position going forward, as they will be the second team to find themselves a little compound and something to work with. Definitely planning for the future. Let's go over to this replay as
Oh, yeah.
power on Enrique Iglesias. I can be your hero, baby.
Doesn't even look at it. Doesn't even care. He's dead. Cool guys don't look at explosions. Raffi is not even associated with that. He does later explode. Oh my goodness.
I really want to
Raffi, what a
call out
cool guy.
Siffle on that one as well. Siffle, our observer, managed to go into third person and turn it around. So we had the cool guys don't look at explosions straight away for us. Perfect work there.
Cool guys do care about the zone, though, so that's what they're a little bit worried about here. Example, all of his friends, except for one, have died trying to get in. Looks like, though, Team Wilma not aware of his presence or his teammates at all. Wolves be making their way. They're being cautious here, keeping their eyes in their back. They might throw out Wanderer here as he makes his way across this road. But with having 4 members up compared to the 2 of M19, Wilma with this 4-man definitely in the lead here.
Pushing forward. Once again, we're in a position where the circle is shrinking at a rapid rate. We have next to no space on this map, but we have a severe overpopulation problem. We're going to have to get some death squads out here at some point soon, or at least hope for these teams to do the work for us, because this is getting messy.
Oh, nothing is as just suspenseful as that zone moving in. He gets the first aid kit off, but there's still a full squad lighting him up as he makes his way out. His teammate, for example, providing some cover fire, getting it down onto Fake on the side. Wonder as well, does the zone close on his heels, running and gunning here, looking for a second down. They need to get as many downs as quickly as they can, but they are still 2v3 going up this hill. That being said, look at this. Getting shot in the back right now is Team Wilma, allowing these long pieces of M19, not getting any downs from it, but finally getting taken by Raffi. Example on the left side, making his way in. Stealth is the main strategy here, and hopefully he can make it happen. He is shooting right here, trying to get that down. Gets one, might be able to get a second. Aiming over at Molman, gets a second on Molman as well, hiding behind this tree. A third, can he make it happen? Trying to find Fake. 1 HP. He does wipe the entirety of that squad. Oh my goodness. Just does not even move, just sits there. Pop, 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 pop. 3 kills.
We need to get you to become the Foley artist for this game.
And then he dies.
Excellent work coming through from Example there. Absolutely amazing play. Once again, having a nice, safe position. Bear in mind that entire push was started by one incredibly hype med kit going through, and just in time. but these late movers are proving to be very difficult because those are the ones getting caught out, as anybody who's already established themselves a position is in the better position.
There's going to be an important fight coming here on the south side. We see Habu and Alliance on the south side, full squads, high ground as well. So whoever wins this fight over the high ground, going to be in a pretty good spot. Habu taking shots as well. Alliance knows their squad is up here. They've been sneaking this whole time, getting some shots, finishing off En Silencio as well. Suppress M4, so they might not know exactly where the shots are coming from. This is big for Alliance.
VZ holding his breath and clenching his cheeks as he's going to secure a second down going through into this, as Havu sustaining 2 casualties currently. Only I Don't Really Mind is going to be left inside this smoke. And now he's going to be taken out. So we have our top 5 scenario coming forward. If we could bring up the tab menu so we can see who we have in play. So we have Team 14, Alliance, Team 2, Vega Squadron, Team 11, Vitality, Team 3 and 7 will be back from Zaki and House of Nobles, respectively.
Definitely liking the spots from Alliance and Vitality, of course. There are only 2 4-mans left. Back from Zarki, a bit of a dark horse, having the low ground as well as a 3-man still up. Remaining 2 players, remaining duos, essentially only have Snake strats under their belt. Vega Squadron in particular, the 2-men have been in the center the entire time, just prone, keeping their head down. It's worked them so far. It's claimed them 5th place, but if they get spotted out, their lives will end very quickly.
And Deja Vu coming through once again. Team Vitality, late game position, hilly strategy, with a circle position, and 4 players left alive. 5 teams currently inside the game and 15 players overall. We could be seeing some incredible wipes and incredible plays coming through. But first of all, Team 3 going up against Team 2 here, as some shots do get returned.
Vitality is actually taking the shots. It looks like that squad making a little bit too much noise, forcing them to retreat into the waiting arms of back from Zarki, getting very close, but Shiv still getting some shots, saying, "You're not getting down without me taking a couple of shots at you." Almost letting die. Meanwhile, while that's going on, Veneti as getting some shots around that smoke. Bossman just waiting for Zen to stop moving. He's spotted, waiting for that headshot. Doesn't quite see it yet. It's a little bit too much to be hitting these strafing targets. Finds it, gets the quick 2-tap, but as Susie fires, going down from Botsman.
Beautiful work coming through, but misplaced from both sides. One standing still for too long and the other standing still at all. Alliance versus Vega versus Vitality. 10 players left alive. 2 4-men and 1 duo. This could get very dangerous very soon, as Vega Squadron have position, but they're going to have to now defend this from 8 players.
Alliance is not far to move, but they're spotted by Vitality. Vitality having a very wide split over the entire eastern side of the zone. The terrain going pretty much south to north in favor of elevation. The high sides being on the south side, as you see here from Alliance, but they will have to moving down the hill using the trees instead of the high ground as their cover. Little do Alliance know that there is Vega Squadron hiding in these trees. It's going to be very important to see how Vega Squadron plays this. If they get downs into Alliance, that could be the opening for Vitality on the eastern side here.
This is not really the sandwich you want to be a part of, and Vega Squadron are going to be responding to this very soon. Vitality will open up with shots and get the first kill into this. The filling of the sandwich being taken down a little bit, but one part of the bread being taken down on the north side as Shiv will be downed. Not quite out of this just yet, but they have his number as Metal covering that tree off and ensuring he's still covered from his right-hand side. One member of Vega Squadron is still alive, though.
The wide split from Vitality making it a bit harder than normal to get that res up. Meanwhile, VZ going down so far, 3 versus 3. The solo still up as well. The zone shrinking down means these flankers will be moving soon. Monkey, though, trying to use what little time he has, seeing if he can't confirm the down and maybe play a bit of spoiler to this res. Monkey getting very close. Does Meteor spot him?
Well, this sandwich is collapsing very quickly as our players are starting to move. Vitality taking another wide flank as they're moving up to the northeast side of the circle. Very wide all the way around. 2 teams now left alive. Still 8 players. 1 casualty currently being medicated at this moment in time. Araxe does have the rock coverage, but the rest of Alliance crumpled up Not in a heap, but as a very strong rock to work with themselves. VZ spotting the head and getting it down. Araxe taken out before he even knew what was coming. VZ will follow up with a very quick nade. It looks like this was a little too strong on the arm this time around.
Yeah, throwing those nades downhill a little bit difficult. Look, the new zone favoring Vitality slightly, but Vitality has been forced to the north side. That's a low ground. That being said, at the tree combat elevation not mattering quite as much, but Alliance 4-man lead, as well as a bit of a tactical advantage. They do have to walk into Vitality, though. A couple of shots already being landed on Meteor Shadow with that M16 so accurate.
For sure, 7 players now remaining inside this, and it looks like the whole strong wall of Alliance being established and keeping everybody out. Vitality having to move forward slightly, but it's Shadow with the forward position. He's going a little too far forward, taking a hard peek and getting some fire returned on him. His helmet is, as we just saw, in the red currently. Monkey spotting one player, not able to take the shot quite quickly enough. Still silent, so we have to wonder whether his position is compromised. Beautiful work as he downs Sigsy from the outside here. The return fire does come down. Traded frags down onto one. Fever taken down by Shadow. As Alliance and Vitality trading blows very well. Shadow the only player currently standing on his feet. So the 1 versus 2 effective. And this is going to be it. Very low. He can't peek. VZ from one side, Meteor pushing from the other, and that is going to be it as Alliance take game 4 here. And well, that's 2 games on the night, games 2 and 4 respectively for them.
Really good night, and in a group full of terrifying teams as well. Very good showing from them, getting quite a few kills as well as Vitality, our top 2 teams, bringing home quite the kill count today.
That was absolutely amazing, and I have to say, taking a look at some of the consistency we've had, FaZe, as we said at the head of the show, we expected great things from these guys. We expected them to have consistent placements all the way through. Didn't particularly have a great circle. I think it was circle 5 there where they did take an early exit in 12th position. But Vitality, Alliance, FaZe, and Liquid all consistent in a good way or a bad way, as this evening has been, you know, pretty even all the way through.
Yeah, either way, it was a very, very entertaining set of games. That has been it from myself, Seal, as well as Douge for the casting. Gonna throw it over to our desk for one last segment. Before that, just want to wish you guys a good night or a good day if you're going to be going on later the NA game soon. Any last words, Douge? Any last words? Any parting words?
Wow, I didn't even realize this. But thank you once again. It's been an incredible night here, and honestly, I think I'm just going to need to take a cold shower after this one.
I agree, man. All right, well, that's been it from us. Desk, take it away.
Thank you very much once again, Seal and Dudge. The final game ends, and it's Alliance pulling off 2 wins on the day. Huge day for them. 4v4 against Vitality makes for a nice ending, I have to say. Cameron, how'd you feel about that?
Yeah, so just the ending was pretty straightforward, obvious, the 4v4 between the 2 teams. Sure, Vitality, they had the circle in the end in a way, but Alliance got that opening pick on Arax, and that's basically kind of just snowballed in from there. Kind of a textbook ending. What was very interesting leading up to that were that the circles were incredibly neurotic the entire game leading through, and how you just weren't able to track it. Rotations were all over the place, and it's very interesting how Liquid and FaZe both got taken out early. I'm not going to like say this with 100% certainty. I do want to go back and kind of actually path both these 2 teams, but in circles like this, I think Liquid especially, but FaZe as well, got kind of hurt by the fact that they may have like over-rotated. Rotations are always risky because if you're traveling in a vehicle and you're going to a place, you're going past another team, you can get taken out. And so when you rotate as often as I think Liquid did, it's bound to be a time that they're going to get hurt, and there's got to be a time that as a team you want to just basically relegate yourself to playing it more on foot, playing it more infantry style. And I think both FaZe and Liquid eventually got caught up in kind of like rotating too often, rotating a little too aggressively, too ambitious near the end, which like in circles like this, when it's like constantly swinging back and forth from one end to the other, and I'm not saying that that's what they should have done, but just bouncing off of that point, that when a circle is going like that, as a team you want to kind of make a decision, okay, like when do we stop trying to play the circle and when do we start just trying to play on foot infantry?
It's fair.
I think they were kind of. It's hard to say because they were kind of screwed with. Obviously, they were screwed by the circle, but they transitioned into Razak, and it's like if the circle goes there, they had the best possible position.
Yeah.
But if it goes anywhere else, if it goes south, then it's really, really hard to transition across those wide open fields, going onto the lower part of the potato mountain, I guess, by apartments and school. So I don't know. It's such a hard call to make because if you do make that early transition, you know, you're kind of leaving yourself in the open a little bit, and there's not a lot of cover. There's not a lot of really great places to play around that southern side of Potato Mountain.
I have
know.
to say
it's a really tough call. It's a really tough call.
I have to say that Razak is. I mean, at the start, it was nearly center circle. You know, and it didn't seem like a bad place to go. The problem is leaving Razak is awful. You're either going uphill to the north through water, west through a giant open field, south you have to pass the hill, then it's a giant open field or school, and there's so many sight lines onto that when you're trying to move. And then if you go east, you have one compound to your east, which is probably occupied. If you're in Razak, there's probably somebody playing that. So trying to move there is very, very difficult. So Razak is a nice place to go. It's a good large area, but leaving is a huge problem. So getting there early and having the circle do what it did, which is just go, I'm going to go 100% south, and then it's like, and I'm going to do it again. And it's like it's such a rough rotation.
The neurosis of the circles started way before that, actually, because it was like it was centered more around like north of Gatka, and then it swung and it swung like northeast, and then swung back south again, which actually that second swing wasn't that bad because it swung off of the area that wasn't very populated.
It took off the north. It basically stopped at the river.
Yeah, basically, but just like, so it wasn't even just a double south swing that ended up screwing a lot of these teams. It was just the circle was all over the place. Yeah. And like, you just, at this point, it's just like, well, okay, I'm going to stop trying to play the circle and we're just going to slowly move ourselves in.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough to play, but it is Alliance grabbing a second win. Huge day for them. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, that was my man Cameron calling them out earlier, thinking they might possibly contest. So credit to you, my friend, for choosing Alliance on this day. They did perform. They definitely, 2 wins, have to be in a great position. Vitality, a first, a second, and a third today. So huge day out of them as well. And a 15. Yeah, well, you know, I was gonna let that one slide, but all right. I mean, I guess not. But
it happens. It happens. You see, that's the nature of Battlegrounds. It's the reason why you play so many games in a series. The reason why you play so many games, even like single one-off events, are doing more and more games, just because the nature of Battlegrounds is like you're even the best team in the world can get screwed at some point. So 15th place isn't the end of the world.
Absolutely.
So Vitality definitely performing very well.
Yeah, and here you see the shots coming out. I mean, it was a nice 4v4, but the first pick did go to Alliance. Shadow doing what he could, but it was not enough as Meta and VZ both spreading out to either side to get the final kill and the victory. Now, unfortunately, everyone, that's it for today's EU games. We do have NA tonight in, hold on, what time is it? I have a watch. In 2 hours. So in 2 hours' time, we'll have 4 games for the NA squad. 16 of them will face off in a best of 4. A lot going on the NA side as well. So if you're an EU fan, go check it out. A lot of big names on those teams for sure. Cameron, you first. Any final thoughts before we head out?
I'm liking this new alliance. They've like yeah, I did say that they're a team to look at outside of kind of the big three that everyone talks about. And I'm not just saying this to my own horn. This is actually really cool to see how Alliance coming back, because back in the day when they were known as Legion, I believe they were one of the better teams in EU, just barely behind then Gorilla Core. And so it's cool to see them kind of like starting to step it up, and I hope they can keep this quality of play up, and so we can then start talking about kind of like the consistent top 4 of EU, if they don't even take the position of top 3 away from these other 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Porosaurus?
You know, we came into tonight, Liquid was holding about a 40-point lead on first, and I think that's probably been taken away from them, maybe? I'm not sure. It'll be close. It'll be close, but
It's getting
40's
heated.
a lot.
It's a lot. I mean,
This is points per game that you're talking about, not just score in general. This is 40.
Yeah,
points
40
per
points per game
game.
is
That's
is,
a lot.
Is huge.
Like they're
That is a
solid.
lot.
They're still probably number 1.
But I mean, you
The
did
gap
see
gets
FaZe come
smaller.
out. FaZe come out with a 19 kill performance. Vitality at the end there with a 14 kill, second place. I mean, there's going to be teams nipping at their heels. If they are still in first, then they're not in first by as much as they were going into today.
And this is very important for Vitality, as well as FaZe too, but especially Vitality, because you got to be both these teams. It'll be almost a tragedy if they didn't end up in the top 16 teams. And there are a couple of reasons you could point out to why Vitality and FaZe are a little lower on the scoreboard right now. But like, it's like, okay, guys, like, you've had enough chances. If you really are the top 3, like, you should really be showing yourselves. And so it's really good that Vitality especially performed so well today.
Absolutely. Well, that will be it for us here for EU. Congratulations to FaZe and Vitality for both grabbing a chicken dinner, and Alliance for grabbing a huge day for them. Mr. Cameron and Porosaurus, there's a chance I might not see you next week, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
Possibly.
a 100% chance.
That's a 100% chance. So, you know, both of you have a good trip over to PGL. It was a pleasure having you join me here today. I hope you enjoy your journey, and it's a good time. To all the teams that will be playing there, good luck to you. For Sap and Siffle, thank you guys. You're the best. Everybody in chat, you're amazing. The mods, the viewers, and of course, the players that play in PUBG Online. We would not be here without you. And on that note, I will see you in 2 hours for NA.
Pick me up off of the desert. Be wide. Walk me through the hills. Wait until the sun shines upon us as we cross the haunted hills. Pick me up off of the desert. Feed me water. Walk me through the hills. Wait until the sun shines upon us as we cross the looking down from the heights that we have built all by ourselves. And there is fear of the unknown, but we cannot lose control when we feel like the world is against us. We're trying to find ourselves without the defining words. We can no longer hold on to what only makes us hurt. We cannot sink into the dark. The vertigo is getting sharp. There's something greater than ourselves that we must reach for. Into the infinite that we must reach. 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 Now which way do we go is the question to ask. There are so many choices that it's hard not to look past. What is real and what is fake, and the risk we have